I said, ooh, the name is on the front. The Raps are out, but name is still on the front. Keeping it short this week, boys and girls. Little weekend for everybody, but off the top, R.I.P. Raptors 2020.
Yeah, that was. I liked how you kept it. You kept the song Toronto centric
Yeah.
this week.
We needed that.
Yeah, you know we're having a little memorial here for what was or what could have been of the Raptors 2020 season. Personally, I'm very proud of the guys. I think we exceeded expectations for what we were supposed to be doing, and the petty fan in me says, guess what? Kawhi didn't make it any farther than us. That means Kawhi made a mistake, and we didn't.
Jamal Murray holding it down for Canada, taking out Kawhi. But I think, yeah, what you said, like the Raps, it's obviously right after the game, with all the stuff that happened with Siakam not playing that well, I think there's a lot of negativity. But I think overall this team, that was a pretty good season considering what they were on paper going into the year. A lot of people wrote them off. People were picking them to like be a fringe playoff team, which is crazy. And then they went to Game 7 with a team that has, I know they lost Game 1, but has a pretty decent chance of going to the finals. I think that series is a coin flip, Miami-Boston. So overall, pretty solid season for the Raps. They have a lot of questions now going into the offseason.
Yeah, I think a lot of the negativity comes from the way they lost, too, especially in Game 7 where it was just keep feeding Pascal Siakam over and over again, and it was just he just, for whatever reason, he just didn't have it.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was frustrating to watch, just him dribbling off his feet, turning the ball over, trying to post up Jaylen Brown and be unsuccessful. Like, it was hard to watch, but again, I don't know if they had any better option, really.
It's like they could have maybe done something different and got squeaked by that game. But, like, if you want to win the title, that you at some point would have needed Pascal Siakam to be that offensive focal point. So you might as well try and get him to become that in that series. Mm-hmm. And it didn't work, and they lost.
So I think today we give a year in review of the Raptors season, the epitome of Toronto sports over these last 2 years, kind of the peak of excellence in Toronto. I'm just appreciative that we had these 2 years. You know, like I'm sad that it's over, but I'm just glad it happened.
It's kind of a hell of a run when you start back, like even just going back to the Lowry trade when they first got Kyle Lowry, and then like I guess the real start is the Rudy Gay trade. Mm-hmm. That's like the start of this era of the Raptors team. Yeah, that too. Yeah, after
DeMar DeRozan,
after Chris Bosh left.
Well, that was the start of like regular season success, but then it was always like the playoff questions.
And
but that was the first step.
But I like that. Yeah, it was a nice journey.
Yeah,
like
it's like a pretty storybook journey when you think about it. Like,
yeah. And even like mixed in, there's some like sad parts. Like DeMar gets traded. Yeah. It's a little bit sad, but like that's what we needed to do.
There's LeBron just crushing them in the playoffs 3 years in a row, and it's
which is I think the only stone left unturned
that they didn't beat LeBron.
Yeah, I really do. I think that is that could have been, and I think this is why it kind of hits me a little hard. That could have been the. What is it? The Pierre de Resistance? What was that? What is
Pièce de Resistance.
Yeah, Pièce de Resistance. Yeah. So like that could have been just the cherry on top. We finally end the LeBronto shit, but I think all things considered, we were outmatched against the Celtics, and we pushed it to 7. Like let's be
like
let's
they
be
were
real
clearly
here.
the better team.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Like, and we made that series closer than it probably should have been on the back of Kyle Lowry mostly, I think. This team too, that you have to like, what you have to like about this team over the last 2 years, like even this year without Kawhi, when you look at like, if you just take like the core 7, like off the court too, like there's nothing negative ever came about any of these guys. Like it was just like basically a positive off the court, and then what they did this season with guys getting hurt, like guys stepping up. Having a better record in the regular season without Kawhi than they did last year with him, even though Kawhi, I know, was load managing, only playing a third of the games. But
so do you guys want to go over Game 7 just because we haven't had an episode since then?
Yeah, we'll do just
a
quick
recap.
We were going to do one, I guess, after the game, but
we were sad.
The mood didn't feel right, exactly.
We were sad. I drank way too many vodka mango juices.
Well,
mango juice.
I didn't have orange juice the one time that I wanted to have screwdrivers, and then I went to the convenience store and they had mango juice on sale, and I was like, that would probably be pretty.
Sound pretty
that'd probably
good.
be pretty good, and it's delicious, but it's like it's way too much sugar, and it's just a hangover in a glass.
Because I've had those like the mango White Claws. Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
but like it's way more.
I think vodka with any fruit juice is probably actually. As I'm saying that, I think apple might be gross, but.
Yeah, I've never heard. Yeah, what is that? Is there a word? Apple juice and vodka. I'll see if there's a
cranberry juice is good. That's the only fruit juice I'm thinking. Like
pineapple juice would be good.
Yeah.
Anything that has like an overwhelming sweetness. Oh, isn't that an appletini?
I guess it is. Yeah.
But don't martinis not have vodka? I thought martinis had rum. It's calling it an appletini or a vodka apple juice. So no creative names for that. Very uninspired.
No, martini is gin and vermouth, according to this.
But an appletini is apple juice, simple syrup, absolute vodka, and apple liqueur.
Maybe that's sponsored by Absolute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says Absolute drinks.
Yeah, so they're obviously
you're on to them.
Yeah.
A rum and Coke on Absolute drinks is Absolute vodka and Coke.
Yeah, rum and Coke. Come on.
Rum and Coke, Absolute vodka, rum.
Yeah.
And some cocaine.
Good. Scotch on the rocks, just absolute vodka with ice. That's all you need.
Delicious.
It's really good.
But yeah, so we got a little bit too hungover to do a recap, or at least I did.
Yeah, I was.
I got trapped downtown.
I was upset.
Well. Yeah, it was upsetting, and like. The thing about Game 7 too is like we did have a shot at the end.
Grant Williams
both of those
free throws,
and then we fouled them again.
We just felt like the box out wasn't there.
Yeah, that was like the most deflating moment of the whole thing because I remember when he was
we're down 2 when he missed both.
Yeah,
those.
and Grant when he was stepping up to take those free throws, I would have bet a lot of money that he would have missed at least one.
Yeah,
I think because he looked like he wanted no part of that stepping up to the line, and he hadn't played most of the game. He was only in there because Tice fouled out, and
it was like the perfect scenario. It was like the perfect guy at the line. You know he's going to miss at least one.
And then, of course, it's Tatum who grabs the rebound and takes the free throws.
I think we just used up all our magic.
You're right.
Yeah, there was a lot. We had a lot of magic.
Yes. Throughout the last 2 years, too. Their magic quota is through the roof.
Yeah. That's why it's not as, obviously I was, right when that game ended, I was sad. But it's not hitting me the way that, a Leafs loss does.
Because, the Leafs, there's
where you're just
because the Raptors, they've done it. They did it last year, and it was I appreciate the ride. The Leafs, they need to do it before I can give them any benefit of the doubt.
With this, the Raptors,
even
you look
win
at the series,
series.
We basically maxed out what this team was gonna do this year. I think, even though I know Pascal's taking a lot of shit,
which is a little bit unfair.
I don't
know if it's unfair, but he
didn't play good.
No,
but
he did not.
I don't think we need to run him out of town.
No,
I think it is a little bit.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think it is a little bit unfair. I mean, obviously the money comes into it, and that's we're paying him a lot of money to be our star in the playoffs, and the playoffs are what you get paid to play. But I saw this stat where Kyle Lowry at the age of 26.
Oh yeah,
that's when he got the Raptors.
Yeah, as of right now, if he was 26 years old, he would have 0 All-Star appearances. He wouldn't be a starter on any team. He would have been, I think he averaged 8 points a game, two assists, and now he's a perennial All-Star. And we talked about him last week about probably being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So it's things can happen. This guy started playing basketball when he was 17. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater yet.
And I think
he's still growing as a player. There's a reason where he was almost he was the most improved player last year, and I heard whispers that he could have been the most improved player again this year.
Yeah.
It was
and he just got named to the second team All NBA.
Yeah. The thing with him too is that every year he's gotten better, coming back from the offseason. So I have no doubt he's going to do that again this year. But it's just cut the guy a little bit of a break. But I think it's fair to criticize the way he played in that series.
Every star player sometime in their career has been shut down before.
Oh yeah,
every single one.
Yeah.
Okay. Jaylen Brown, he shut him down. He shut down Pascal Siakam. We had no answer for it. That's really what it was.
I think Raptors fans are a little bit hypersensitive to the choking in the playoffs kind of thing, just because of where
it's Toronto.
And then we've seen DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs, and even Kyle Lowry early on in his career, we saw just how much they struggled early on in the postseason. And the difference with Pascal and DeMar is that Pascal doesn't kill you on the defensive end the way DeMar did. Where if DeMar's not contributing offensively, he's doing nothing.
Right.
He's probably a net negative.
Yeah.
Where Pascal is
Like,
guarding their best offensive
everyone,
player.
Like, you see people on like Twitter like, why is Pascal in the game? It's like, do you want Norman Powell out there guarding like Jason Tatum? Like,
That's where people
Yeah,
don't.
like-
Yeah, people. That's where people show their ignorance to like what they're talking.
The
about.
only other option they had was
Their
put
reaction-
Serge in there, but Serge would have got destroyed on the offensive end.
They're reactionary fans where they're just like what's in front of me right now. That's exactly what I'm seeing. Like,
Yeah.
it's just my laptop.
Well, it's the same thing with like, even though I think Gasol towards the end of this series actually was horrible, but
like Nick Nurse
there was
knows more
always
than all of
like Marcus All would get 0 points. There'd be people like, why is Marcus All getting any minutes on this?
because
Yeah,
he's
and he's
shutting people
Yeah.
down.
and he's
on
like
the defensive end.
he's like their second facilitator on offense too,
Like,
right?
You can't just look at like points and be like, oh, there's no reason this guy should be on the floor.
Yeah.
So
I'll be honest too. I think there were moments when like if Pascal dribbled off his foot or something, I probably reacted like, "Oh, get him off the floor." Like just in the moment, I'm like, "Just sit him." But I think when you step back and think about it, it just never made sense to do that.
I never said that. I just kept on saying like, stop giving him the ball.
Yeah.
Like, use him as a decoy, sure, but like, stop giving him the green light to shoot because he's not hitting them. It's felt like every time he got the ball, he was just driving the hoop and doing that like back in thing. And it's like, they know what you're gonna do. Pretend like you go up and kick it out because they all collapse.
I think, I don't mind the like going to him, but he needs to like have better decision making.
He needs to adjust to what they're doing against him instead of like just reading the game script and doing what he always does.
Like you saw that with Tatum, where Tatum would drive. Like they got so many quarter threes off Tatum driving, and then we would collapse, and then Marcus Smart or Jaylen Brown would be wide open in the corner. But it's like Siakam wasn't even looking. Like the blinders were on.
That's the next step I think in his career is the playmaking. Because when you look like DeMar, with DeMar, the whole thing was he's just got to get a three. If he can add a three, that's all he's got to do. And I think for Pascal, that's if he can become even like a passable playmaker, like if he can do that every once in a while, give them something to think about, that will help him immensely on the offensive end.
His shooting still needs to improve.
But I think he's a good enough shooter for a power forward where it's like you respect his shot. I think he like the contested pull up threes are not something he needs to be doing all the time.
No.
But it's just like he is passable enough as a shooter, I think. And if he can, the playmaking will help him so much more because it gives the defense something they have to respect. Whereas right now they know he's
exactly. If they know that this guy can make a pass, they're not going to be collapsing as hard on him.
And if he passes out right now, he's not like. It's almost like a reset pass. It's not like a progression pass. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like
I see this guy in the corner. He's ready to shoot.
It's pass to Kyle and let's reset the offense.
Yeah, that's like the weakness of our team is our half court offense.
Yeah,
and you're just like slowing it down.
And you just
more.
wasted 8 seconds trying to post up Jaylen Brown. And
So the offense needs a little work going into the next season.
So let's do a year in review, like through regular season, throughout the playoffs. Let's go step by step, like positives, negatives going into next year. What do you guys think? Like, I think a big positive is some of the young guys we have on this team are able to contribute, and we've seen that. We saw that throughout the year. Maybe they didn't contribute in the playoffs because they're not ready, but we have guys like Terrence Davis. He made the all-rookie team this year. He's coming up. He's an up-and-comer, another Masai find, kind of like a Fred VanVleet, where he was undrafted.
Well, and
and we brought him in, and he's done very well.
Depending on what happens with Fred too, he potentially is going to have a big role in this team next year. I think.
Yeah, he could be
like
the sixth. He could be the 6th or 7th man off the bench too.
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, a guy that I really like, didn't get any playoff minutes, but I liked what he brought. We kind of gave him a second chance. He was a really high draft pick, and it just never really worked. Where was he? Was he in
Arizona?
Rondé Hollis-Jefferson,
like the team he played for?
Yeah,
he played for Brooklyn, but he went to college at Arizona.
Yeah, so he was a very high draft pick, never really worked in Brooklyn. We gave him a chance, and he looked good off the bench, and I believe he's back again next year. Maybe he can do some stuff for us.
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent, so hopefully maybe we can sign him, or maybe he had a good enough year where he can get paid somewhere else, but that's good.
The funny thing with him is with Rondé, they kind of have both versions of the flyer that worked out and the flyer that didn't work out, and it's Stanley Johnson is the exact opposite side where it's like, and the crazy thing is
he's going to be back.
He's got.
He has a $3 million player.
He is not declining that. Yeah, but it's just like they're both wing players from Arizona who were high draft picks in the same draft that didn't work out with their original team. They both came to the Raptors as kind of a flyer. I think they signed them the day Kawhi went to LA. They brought these two guys in, and like Rondé worked out really well as a defensive, just like a
He's just like
JYD 2.0, JYD
guy.
3.0, because DeMar Carroll is JYD 2.0, obviously. But yeah, he just worked out as like an energy guy, and then Stanley Johnson just did nothing all year long.
Chris
Right?
Boucher, another pleasant surprise.
Yeah, he's a useful player for sure.
He's an agent of chaos.
Yeah.
He just comes in and like good or bad, something crazy is gonna happen. Like he's either like blocking shots, hitting wild threes.
Yeah, he
or
was.
just
Yeah,
like
Trey Boucher.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they got him. They got Matt Thomas too. Matt Thomas was
He was basically the 8th man by the end of that
Yeah.
Celtics series.
And that's why no matter who we lose, and we are going to be
Pat
losing
McCaw.
at least one of Serge, Gasol, or Fred. At least
well,
one.
like,
Probably
how about
more than one.
Well, let's like
think?
ask us right now. Like out of those 3, who if
Keep
you have to
Serge.
pick, who's not back?
Oh, Gasol.
For sure. I think Gasol comes back. There's no way.
You don't think he comes back? Because I don't think he's gonna.
Unless he comes back on like a very cheap, like short-term deal.
Do you think he's getting more than like $4 or $5 million next year?
Man, the NBA, like, there's these bad teams will pay guys a lot of money.
Is Marc Gasol gonna want to do that though?
Maybe he'll go back to Memphis.
That's the only. Yeah, I could see that. But like, do you think he's gonna want to go? Like, he's not gonna want to go play for the Knicks. I don't think. Maybe if they give him like 20 million.
Maybe a team like the Lakers or something signs him as a guy who comes off the
Yeah,
bench.
the Lakers are a good
I could
call.
see
too.
Memphis happening. Go play with Ja.
Yeah.
Well, he's still like that's like where he went to high school. Like
Yeah.
that's his hometown, right?
Memphis could make sense.
because he came over when Powell was playing there. So
I think you have to sign Serge. Serge had the best year of his of his career.
he's
So
gonna be expensive.
They have.
Yeah.
You think he's gonna be? I don't even think.
I think after that playoffs,
Yeah. I think like he'll
he's
probably
their
get.
second best player.
I think he'll probably get $15 million a year.
Yeah.
That's probably. But like the same. So they have about $44 million under the luxury tax when you look at it for next year, and that like I don't think they're gonna want to go too high into that.
But are you saying sign Serge to a 1-year deal?
Yeah, I would.
Because they want to keep the books clean.
Yeah,
after next year, right?
And like I think Serge
and
is
Fred,
a guy.
you're not like if you're signing Fred, it's probably longer than a 1-year deal.
The-
I don't know if you want to give 2 of those guys more than one.
The one thing I can see with Serge, the team that kind of scares me for him is the Pelicans. That's kind of a team where I could see him being a bit of a fit with
Little veteran
Gasol,
presence.
Marc Gasol too, actually with them. Just like a veteran big who can space the floor for
basically like he would replace Derek Favors.
and let Zion work.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So those would be the 2 teams that kind of scare, are the one team that scares me for those 2 guys. But I don't think Serge is going to get a ton of money unless like.
Do you want to hear my hot take for the Pelicans?
Yeah, go for it.
I think Ingram's going to be better than Zion next year. I do. He was like every game I watched of the Pelicans, he was just dominating.
Yeah.
Like he's sick.
But-
Like I mean, obviously, like that's why it's a hot take, guys.
I think like he might score.
Sorry,
more
I
po-
interrupted.
He
you.
might score
That's
more
okay.
points.
It just kind of came to me.
But I think Zion would do other things.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like-
we'll see.
Like I
See,
think
that's my hot take. That's why it's a hot take.
Like if Zion can turn into like, I think Zion has the potential to be like a really good defensive player, where I don't think Brandon Ingram does. But Brandon Ingram, I went to a game and he got 50 points, so I know how sick he is.
yeah, he's very good.
Him and Donovan Mitchell had a battle, like a Murray Mitchell like battle.
My I'm trying like when you look at next year, I think I would say Fred is back because like
Yeah.
because I think the Raps
I don't feel good
he'll
about Fred.
he will allow I think if the Knicks are going to pay him $30 million a year and the Raps pay him 25, like what do you think he's going to take?
I don't know. $5 million is a lot of money.
So
It is, but
okay.
like I don't know. Like
This
at that
is-
point, like do you want to go slum it out with the Knicks and because he is never going to be he'll never be loved anywhere the way he is loved here. I don't think.
He has a title though. Already, he's got the title.
You're right.
Do you think he goes like? I mean, I'm just being devil's advocate.
No, I know what you're saying, and I guess like
The Knicks are always like you play in Madison Square Garden, like that's always a. I know the team is like the ownership is a shit show, but I think that's always a pretty enticing. Like you go
course.
go live in New York City, like you're playing in MSG every night.
the Bulls, maybe he goes back home too.
Yeah,
He's got a young family. Maybe I mean I think they're too young to have started school, so that wouldn't really apply.
I think that whole thing with
but I think the fact that I do think like the fact that his kids are Canadian citizens like definitely doesn't hurt his chances of just wanting to stay here, maybe for a little bit less money.
and and they do have the connection with this city because they Fred
Well, you have the
specifically.
connection with a guy who just took a chance on you too, like
And
you were
Masai, yeah.
undrafted, right? But so here's talking about Fred. This is a breakdown. Blake Murphy on The Athletic. So if the cap stays the same, which a lot of people think it might, the Raptors to sign a max guy, 30% max guy, which, as he says in the article, like, I'm just going to pull the name Giannis Antetokounmpo out of a hat. I don't know. I mean, they would need $33 million.
Okay.
So that would mean if the cap is flat, they'd have room. Fred would be able to make 11. If you get rid of Norm, that goes up to 21.
Mm-hmm.
If the cap goes up to 120, which is probably the highest that Blake is estimating it could go up, you'd have the 30% max would be 36 mil. Fred, with Norm still there, you could sign him to 18. If you got rid of Norm, you could sign Fred to 29, which that would definitely work. If the cap stays flat, you're in a situation where, like, you re-sign Fred, it's pretty tight. Now, you could just say, let's just sign Fred and we'll worry about that when we get to it.
Because I think
that's probably what I would do. I don't think it makes sense to, like, not sign guys now with the potential that you may get a max guy in 2021. There's no guarantee unless Masai thinks there is.
I think in the NBA it's pretty easy to get out of contracts. I think, like, especially like if next year the Raptors are in a position where they're not where they want to be, I guess you could move Fred at the deadline and get an expiring contract back and a couple of picks or something. I don't think in this situation bringing guys back is a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you'll find a way to make the money work. You could. There's so many options. You could do sign and trades. There's a whole bunch of things like that.
You have to extend Anunoby too, though. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So, like.
Yeah, he's a key piece if we're.
And I think he's a no, like, you're extending him.
Yes. And you'll be
that's
pretty
a no doubter.
You'll be pretty vulnerable too, I think, to an offer sheet.
And I think and I think next year his value's only going to extend him, like, now. His value's only going to.
Well, I don't know if you saw the thing that there's the report that Bam Adebayo is going to wait on an extension, so his salary won't kick in. There's like a report that he's willing to do that to wait until they sign Giannis and then he signs his extension.
Right.
So then they'll have all that cap space, and then they can sign him to his extension and go over. It's kind of like
okay,
because he's on the same thing as.
So he's
OG.
a free agent after the next season.
The same thing. He's got the same thing as OG, I believe. Let me double check that, but
then isn't there like a cap hold? They have like cap holds.
Yeah, but he's on his rookie deal, right? So it's like $3 million.
So it's only like unrestricted.
Yeah.
So they'd have to that block on Tatum was
that was
so
insane.
Sick.
Is that not goaltending?
No, because it's still like in his hand. He's trying to dunk.
Fair. So that doesn't count?
No, he has to, like, if you like shot it.
Has to leave your hand?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you try and dunk, you can like block it anywhere.
Dude,
I see.
That was crazy.
I lost that. I lost it
Yes.
in our green room over there.
That was an insane block.
I was like, and it was like LeBron's like chase down block on steroids.
Yeah.
It's like that was probably the best like timely block I'd ever seen was the LeBron block. But, like that one was like that was like the last possession of the game.
And it like didn't seem like it was possible to do that.
And it like pretty much ended the game because it gave them the ball back and they were up 2 or whatever.
This one I didn't enjoy as much, but Marcus Smart's block was actually pretty sick in that game 7 too.
Nah.
I thought it was goaltending right away. I was like losing it, but then on the replay, it clearly wasn't.
The one on Powell? Is that?
Yeah, right at the end. Well, anyway, I think even if you can take the Giannis rumors with a grain of salt, but like if you look at the free agent class after 2021, like there's a lot like LeBron, Blake Griffin, Paul George, Mike Conley, Kawhi, Gordon Hayward, Lowry, Anthony Davis, Giannis, Rudy Gobert, Jrue Holiday, Oladipo, Drummond, Porter, DeRozan, Steven Adams, Batum, Aldridge. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Well, yeah, a few of those guys, like, I think DeRozan's going to be a free agent this year. Like, a few of them can opt out. I think Gordon Hayward can opt out, too. But it's... you want to be in a position to where you can bring one of those guys in, I would think.
And I think that even if we don't land, like, the Giannis or,
Kawhi
back, I think this franchise has shown enough over the last 2 years that there's going to be, like, guys will be looking to be like, oh, Masai and the Raptors. Do you want to talk about Nick Nurse got his extension?
Yep. I think that's huge that Nick Nurse got the extension because when I look at the Celtics, a team that's in our division, a team that is now in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they also have 3 first-round draft picks this year, Like they're gonna be good, like sustainably good
And they're
for
all the guys,
years.
all their good guys now are young,
Yeah.
except for Hayward.
for years. And it worries me. That worries me. But having Nick Nurse locked down eases my worries a little bit because I think he's just such a good X's and O's guy that he can kind of mitigate some of the talent disparity.
Do you think that the Nick Nurse extension is a good sign for Masai
So-
being extended? I think you can
Listen
it
to
can
this.
go
So-
both ways.
So Masai is
Like,
talking right now, like he's giving his
right now.
his post-season press conference
Should we
right
put it
now.
up?
So what he said, I guess he was asked if he had any talks with ownership regarding his contract, and he said no, which is
So that's not good.
that is not good.
Because I was thinking that like there's two ways you can look at the Nick Nurse signing. Like Masai is saying, me and Nick, like we're both gonna be here, so I want to get my coach locked down. The other thing could be like he's just taking care of his guy before he
So
leaves.
another thing that came out of that is
So let's speculate and really stress ourselves.
so there's one more
Well,
thing here too.
Like, he needs a contract.
I know,
Like-
but I'm
like
just,
he needs a contract.
Another thing that you can take this one way or another too is I guess he was asked about a Bobby Webster extension, and Masai said we're close.
Right.
So
Down with Webster.
maybe they're just going. He's going to get everybody else taking. Well, that can go one of two ways. Either maybe he's just getting everyone their contracts, then he's going to bolt. He's going to help all.
That's
his guys
what I'm
out.
saying. It could go. It's like
Yeah.
he's locking everyone down for him to stay, or he's like, I want my boys to get paid before I leave. Like I want Nick, I want Bobby to be taken care of.
So, and actually, another thing he said about his discussions, he said it's not something I'm going to do in public. So maybe he just doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I do. He's that.
I don't think he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would like air his dirt out in like
Yeah.
public. Anyways, I think he just probably.
And here's another.
It was
And
just,
obviously, part of that is me being optimistic on like wanting him to still be here, but he's never been the kind of guy that like exactly what you said. He doesn't talk.
he's not gonna like complain about ownership like in a press conference.
He's not like he's just not a guy that's gonna come out and like show his hand.
So
Yeah.
here's
Like,
a
at
tweet
all.
from Mark Stein about 4 hours ago. 4 hours ago today. He said the strong rumble in the bubble. The strong rumble in the bubble. Wow, that's a bit of a tongue twister.
Rumble in the bumble.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
rumble in
that's
the
like,
bubble.
That's
like
like
Muhammad Ali.
No, that's like our Friday nights. Just swipe.
The strong rumble in the bubble was that Toronto was closing in on new long-term deals for president of basketball operations Masai Ujiri and GM Bobby Webster, as well as Nick Nurse. So,
Okay.
he said
Well,
Nurse's
that's
deal was
nice.
announced Tuesday. Now we await extensions for Ujiri and Webster. So, two of those things appear to have been confirmed by Masai. He announced the Nurse extension, and he
Said we're close with Bobby.
so maybe he's just he just said he doesn't want to do his negotiations in public. So maybe when he was asked about it, he just said we're not gonna.
yeah, like we don't need to talk about this.
So that is a good thing, but again, the thing that does concern me is that he said they haven't talked about it. But I don't know. I guess this will be.
They probably have.
Admittedly, I don't. Maybe this
He's
is just
lying.
this is the Toronto sports fan in me that I've been for about a year and a half now, incredibly nervous about Masai going somewhere else.
But can we put this out there, Brandon?
Yes,
It doesn't take much to get you nervous.
No, I'm a nervous Nelly,
Yeah,
especially about things like
like little things like specifics. You like Vlad's like
weight.
his weight, his angle,
It's
his
because-
hit angle.
Again, it just
The-
it's
Masai,
because
Masai, what he had for breakfast.
I heard this take too, which like again, Masai doesn't strike me as this kind of guy. Is that Masai was like perturbed that Shanahan, the MLSE extended Shanahan when like he feels like he has more to show. But Masai doesn't. Again, he doesn't. I don't know. I don't know him personally, so it's hard to say. But he just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would like give a shit about anything like that. Like he's just like,
And if
We're
he
gonna-
did, I don't think it would get out.
yeah,
yeah, and he's got his like the old who is this Brian Burke line? His track record speaks for himself, right? Like Masai could go anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the NBA right now, I think, and get a job.
Well,
yeah.
like
except for teams that obviously, but the majority of teams I think would be clamoring over Masai. He'd be like the biggest offseason. This offseason, if he was a free agent, he would be the biggest free agent of the offseason.
for sure.
Well,
Like
I
when you
think-
look at the class that's out there too.
And I think like if you look at, especially like this is a big complaint among Toronto sports fans, is nothing in Toronto gets the credit that it deserves from the U.S. media, but the one person that always gets the credit he deserves from the U.S. media is Masai Ujiri. They talk about Masai Ujiri like he's the Messiah that's coming to save whatever U.S.
Yeah.
franchise.
Yeah.
always
that
the
could.
Kni-
It's
the
always
Knicks is always
yeah.
a
It's
rumor.
always like, oh, who needs help? Oh,
It's-
Masai.
and
could
that's
be
because
available.
he's-
like it's always that. And
He's destroyed the Knicks in
Yeah.
like 2 different trades, I think.
And the one trade that he would have helped them, they like shut down when he had the Kyle Lowry to New York trade, and James Dolan stepped in. He's like, "No, this guy has ruined me twice. We're not trading with him anymore." And then they just turned down Kyle Lowry, and guy goes and wins a championship in Toronto and
Thank
becomes
God
like
they did.
the best
And
player
we ruined
in
them
the
again.
franchise's
Yeah, we
history.
ruined them again where they denied Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, there's going to be a statue
Yeah.
out front of the
Yeah.
ACC now because of James Dolan. So thank you, Jimmy, for that one.
Thanks, Jim.
So you guys want to go? What's next? Or have we kind of covered
We
that?
kind of did. I mean, the big thing is obviously Fred.
Fred and Masai are the
It's
two
the
things.
free
Yeah.
agents, and
And then-
honestly, I think the what's next comes down to not even this year. I think what's next, to me, what's next means that big free agency.
Well, yeah, but that's why
They
you have
also-
to,
Whether
wait,
we're gonna have the money to do it, whether we're gonna have Masai to entice them.
They also
do
have
it
a first round pick this year, which they haven't had in a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I wanted to talk about that because the way the NBA does it is stupid.
what do you mean?
They don't reseed in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
just
have the
20
29th pick.
Oh yeah,
That's stupid
But I mean, the bottom is done like the way you choose the,
The
bottom
bottom's
pick is done by the regular
because
season.
they don't make the playoffs.
Right.
And the playoffs are what matters.
Yeah.
So if we weren't good, if we weren't like Boston has a higher pick than us, but Boston's a better team. How does that make sense?
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I have
They
enough
finished
faith in
worse than
Masai. Like Masai
No,
could pick.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm more like this is less about the Raptors, more about the way they structure how the picks are doled
I
out.
think that's just them.
It bothers me.
I know what you mean. I think that's just them wanting to have because the draft is usually like a couple days after the
It's
NBA
like
finals.
they want the draft because they want like
I get it.
they want the draft order
Still
set.
stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
Still dumb.
yeah, I don't know.
Like I think the NHL. I don't think they do it until the conference. No, I think they do it for all of them.
they do.
Yeah, they
like
do it
this,
for
the
all of
cup winner picks 30th.
Yeah.
Right. But the argument there is that like the regular season standings aren't as indicative in the NHL as like how good a team is, I would say. They are, but they're not as. Like you can be a 7th seed in the NHL and like win the cup, right? You're never doing that in the NBA. So like it makes more sense to reorder it there. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think your measure of success if you make the playoffs is how well you did in the playoffs, not how well you did in the regular season. And I think your draft position should be reflective of how well you did in that season, including the playoffs if you made it. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I mean, you can put it in the comments. What's your opinion? You think it's stupid? Which you prefer, NBA, NHL? Let us know in the comments. Let's move on to the rest of the NBA playoffs. Kawhi got beat by Kid Canada, Jamal Murray, the best player in the bubble, in my opinion. I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he's been especially in terms, maybe not the best player, but in terms of like who he was outside of the bubble and who he's been
Biggest
inside the
improvement.
bubble. Yeah, like he is unbelievable. He's must-watch.
Jokic is unbelievable too. Like
He is
yeah, I was
must.
gonna say he may not be the best player.
I
on
don't
his
think he
team.
is.
But Jamal Murray is must-watch TV.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's like the most
He's
entertaining.
yeah for
Yeah.
sure.
Like it's. I can't take my eyes off the screen.
He's maybe the best player on his team, but not the most valuable. If that makes sense.
Because Jokic is like a 7-foot point guard basically, which is
right. Like he's
they
the
run their
playmaker,
offense.
Yeah.
He's like Marc Gasol in his prime almost.
and he grabs like 15 boards
Yeah.
a game.
I was completely wrong about this. I remember last week they were up. I think the Clippers were
well,
up 3-1.
I thought it was over too.
Yeah, I was like, this is done. We don't even need to talk about this. And that was one of the things going into the bubble that I thought about is when teams are like clearly down in the series, I thought there would be a lot more of like a quit factor. Where they're like, we're down 3-1 to the Clippers. Do we really want to like? We've been here for 2 months. I want to get home and see my family. Are we really going to try our absolute hardest to win this game? You know what I mean? Like I feel like there would have been a lot more of a defeatist attitude going into these games. And the Nuggets have come back from 3-1 twice. The Raptors were down 2-0 and went 7.
I wonder if you see maybe like sometimes the opposite of that happening because it's almost like this is like when you're a kid and you're like going away for the weekend for like a tournament and you're all staying in like a hotel
And you
and
wanna
it's
keep
and
it-
you're like let's just keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You amp each other
Especially
up.
with a young team like the Nuggets, where like a lot of those guys don't have families.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'm assuming. I don't know but they have a really young team, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think like Gary Harris, Jamal, like Jokic, they're all single.
Michael
at
Porter Jr.
Michael Porter, like none of those guys have families. So
I'm on the Nuggets fucking train.
I want them to win.
all out.
I'm still
All
gonna
out.
say like Lakers in 6, but I want the Nuggets to
I
win.
saw a good tweet. Yes, this is either going to be the Lakers in 4 or it's going to be the Nuggets,
Nuggets
in
in
7.
like down 3-1. If
yeah.
the Lakers go up 3-1, it's gonna be
It's Nuggets.
Yeah, it's
Nuggets,
gonna be
It's the
Nuggets.
Nuggets series. 3-1 is the most dangerous lead in basketball.
And like just the video, like I don't know if you saw the video of like because Jokic, Murray, and Mike Malone like stayed out on the court for their for interviews after the game, and the rest of the team is in the locker room. And then they have a video of like those 3 walking in the locker room after, and like the team just going insane.
I love that shit. So
Like they
Harden,
look like a college team in March Madness.
Harden
like the way they were
chokes again.
celebrating. Yeah,
it's like that team. Like,
I think they're
D'Antoni's out,
they're gonna try and trade Westbrook.
D'Antoni's
I'd
out.
imagine.
dude.
He's a
How? Like I don't.
And
like,
they gave up so much to get.
dude, the Thunder or the Paul George trade too.
the Clippers. Do you see what the Clippers gave up for Paul George?
Just,
It's
they
Yeah.
just cut the legs off of that
the
franchise.
Thunder
are sick.
they're set up to be. They're in good shape.
Well, and like the thing with the Clippers, this could all be done next year. Like the Clippers could have one more. Like Paul George and Kawhi can leave.
Yeah.
I love that
after
quote by Paul George. Such a loser's
What
mentality.
that this
Oh.
isn't
He
a.
was like, it was never in our mind like this was a one and done kind
He
of
loves
thing.
to
It was
make excuses.
That's
eh?
more concerning to me than them losing that series. Like if that's his attitude, like
After, he never like the even like the that's a bad shot. Like after Dame eliminated them, like he'll never. It's like, dude, you can just admit you lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard were roasting him on Twitter.
I love it.
Did you see
I love
that?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, do you see the?
Really?
I guess somebody tweeted at Damian Lillard. They're like, "Hey, is this a good shot?" And it's the one of
Paul George off
like,
the side of the
yeah,
backward.
and Damian Lillard's like, "Yeah, it looks pretty good to me."
I love that those two are just like at home, like live tweeting games.
They're
Yeah.
like roasting,
and they
people.
probably have a text like they're texting on the side like I'm gonna say this.
yeah.
And that
That's
text chain
hilarious.
is probably so much funnier too than the tweets even are, which are
Yeah.
hilarious. Like, yeah.
It's hilarious.
Another actually Canada connection or Raptors connection with the Nuggets that I don't know. This is a bit of a. I just found this out. A bit of a stretch here, but Mike Malone, his father was Brendan Malone, who was the original coach of the Raptors.
Oh,
so there
yeah.
you go.
So
I thought there was some connection there. That I was trying
so
to,
we're like
basically
we
still
have
alive.
to cheer for them.
Jack Armstrong is a huge
Brendan Malone,
and like Mike
yeah.
Malone guy.
Yeah.
He always talks about. He's like, "Oh, Mike Malone, I'm telling you, this Denver Nuggets team."
Yeah. Yeah, Jack loves a good coach. That's
Yeah.
like he always like yeah.
So yeah, are we we're a Nuggets podcast, right?
Yeah, well, like I'm
All
on
right.
the Nuggets train for sure. That's Canada's team
Okay.
now. I don't know how
All
it
right.
can't be. You already have they're either their 1 or 1B player is Canadian, and they just eliminated
I want Nuggets
Kawhi Leonard from the playoffs. so
Nuggets
they're
Heat.
Canada's team.
That's my final. That's what I want.
It's
Not
I
what
think
I think, but it's what I want.
if I was a betting man, I'm gonna say it's Lakers Celtics in the finals.
Yeah, but are you
But-
gonna like bet on Lakers Celtics? Those are not
Well, the Celtics
those
are
are
down.
not better. Those
Celtics
are not
down.
but they're not betting friendly, are they?
They might
Like,
be. It might be now that they lost game 1.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
betting.
if you put a bet on the Nuggets,
oh yeah.
you're getting a good ROI.
And
Yeah.
how could you not bet on them? What is the record in elimination games in these playoffs?
6-0.
6-0. Yeah.
Yeah, last
Are you gonna bet against that team?
You're right. Yeah, they're a hard team to put away.
So yeah, that's the NBA.
So we're about 40 minutes in here on the
Yeah.
NBA.
But I mean, we had to do
For sure,
We
'cause
had
we're-
to do a conclusive like wrap up the story that was the Toronto Raptors over these last 2 years. We owe them that respect
I agree.
because
We're-
they gave us so much to cheer for and so much to be happy about over these last 2 years. As a sports fan, I've never felt about a team. I mean, I've never felt as I was saying it all year. I was like, I've never felt about a team as confident and as like
Connected, I think.
connected with a team as I have the Raptors.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a Leafs guy through and through. That's who I cheered for since I was 4 years old. I only became a basketball fan about 10 years ago. But like I've never felt the way like as confident in the like I can watch the Leafs game and just like no matter how good we are, I'm nervous the
Yeah.
entire fucking
I
time.
think-
The Raptors, it was just a different kind of like of a year where I was like, no matter how far behind, like I think we have a
I
shot
think
to
they just
come
had
back.
the championship swagger.
Yeah.
As
And I've
And
never
the likability of the team too.
Which I think
and
is
I've never experienced that, and I want to thank them for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
As a Leaf fan too, you more often than not hate your team, right? You know what I mean? Or not hate, but you're
It's
like
self-loathing.
you're-
It's
and you're
self-loathing. That's hard to say.
and you never feel comfortable just because of the history of the team. And it's like with this Raptors team, it brought us like the first championship in 20 years
And you
in
know
this
what?
city, and it was
Everyone wants the Leafs to lose.
yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's also another thing where it's like I feel like the majority of people were out there like I like this Raptors team. I want them to win.
Yeah, like
And,
everyone who's not a Leafs fan
yes,
wants them to lose.
Yes. So
Especially
it's like
because they were, and last year when they were going up against the Warriors, who were an absolute dynasty that I think people were sick of seeing. I think a lot of people, even people down south, who I think it's pretty rare for an American fan base to jump on something that's
yeah.
not American or a Canadian
Oh yeah,
team.
we were everyone was cheering for the
Yeah.
Raptors last year.
So, and it's just what a ride.
Yeah.
And this may be it. It might come back again in 2 years when Giannis signs here.
Well, just
but
appreciate what the last 2 years were if you're a sports fan in Toronto.
Because the team-
even though there's like, I know it's sad they lost, you need to like appreciate the last 2 years of this Raptors run.
they might run it back one more year, but it could look very, very different next year.
I've had the time of my life.
That's what you should have opened.
And
with.
I've never felt this way before. Oh, I'm getting teary-eyed.
should've
Thanks,
put-
Toronto Raptors, for all the good times. Let's keep it going. Jeez
All right,
Louise,
Wrecked
watch the
I
board.
ruined the
Do you wanna
roadcaster
go
over here.
NFL?
Yeah, let's move on into NFL here.
All right, so week 1 recap.
So, what were your thoughts on? I know we this is kind of the obligatory thing that we've done with every sport so far, but just watching football with no fans. What were your guys' impressions? I know some places had fans, but the overall
So
majority did not.
I actually thought, this is weird, I would have said that football would be the least impacted. I thought it was
I
the
agree.
weirdest.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Like it just sounded because
I disagree.
and maybe it was the way
Really?
they were.
No, I disagree with like the fact that you thought it was going to be the least impact.
I thought it was for
I
sure.
thought it was going to be the most.
Yeah, because
I thought like hockey would be the most because like when you like teams score, like there's so many more like basketball and hockey have these like crazy crowd moments where baseball and football is more just a steady like noise, right?
So I have a stat. There were the most offensive touchdowns in the history of week 1 this year. And I think that is because the offenses can literally hear everything they're doing.
Oh no! I'm not talking about the
impact
play
on the game?
field.
No,
I'm
no,
talking
I'm
about
talking
the
about the viewing.
viewing experience.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah. But
No.
My-
I agree with that.
so my
I'm just talking about
yeah.
like how weird it sounds as a viewer.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
like
it was weird to see like there's
yeah.
a like
no, I agree with what you said.
Yeah.
like you know in football when there's like the deep pass down the field and the ball's in the air and there's like almost like you can feel the anticipation through the crowd and
Yeah.
then the guy catches the ball and there's like an explosion.
But it's just like a steady buzz.
It's like
Oh yeah, and it's 70 decibels or something.
And
That's that's like a baby crying.
and maybe they just need better people managing. Like maybe you need someone managing the levels.
No,
Like,
you can't.
It's illegal.
Yeah, you go up to 70 and you're supposed to like keep it there.
Okay. Because in baseball, it seems like they're when they
And
get a hit, they
basketball.
turn it up.
No, there's a lot of rules because of what
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
said. Like
Makes sense.
how like you could have a homer in there and just
Yeah.
just send it
like
up.
but
But
the
it's-
quarterback's calling
and-
out his
yeah.
audibles.
But you could still keep it if you have the max level. You could keep it below the max level and then turn it up to the max level when your team makes a play.
You could,
Because,
but
like,
but I
Because
think that
man, it sounded weird. It
Max-
was weird.
yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it
agree.
was weird.
that
it was weird, but I have like you know how I watch football. I got all
Yeah.
3 TVs going. I had so much hitting me and like so much like
when I
I forgot about it.
It's not.
I
It's
forgot
not a
about it.
huge deal.
Yeah.
I just thought it sounded weird.
it was weirder than I thought it was going to be.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought too.
Yeah.
Like I thought the viewing, like just not talking from the play again, from the viewing experience. If you would have told me before this, I would have been like, football's probably going to be the least weird with like the fake crowd. But I thought it was like it just seemed the most unnatural.
I think that's because of the rules that they've put on.
It probably is.
And a lot of the I think a lot of the other sports too have tried to cover up the empty seats. Where like baseball, they've stuck cardboard fans in there as much as they can. They've covered the NHL. They tarped off all the seats.
One
Most
thing-
of the NFL stadiums just didn't do that.
One thing I do like about the NFL about what the NFL is doing is like they're like there's like especially the ones that aren't allowed any fans. Like the Buffalo Bills game, like only Billy Buffalo was in the crowd. So he was like up in the second deck, like dancing, and they're like, "There's old Billy up there." They like zoomed in on him.
He's
It was
just roaming the
yeah,
stadium.
it was pretty funny. I don't know. It's just a good visual. But yeah, so that I found that stat really interesting. That it was the most offensive touchdowns scored in any week one in history. A lot of that has to do with no preseason.
For sure.
A lot of that has to do with the fact that that you can hear everything when you're calling your audibles, when you're reading your defenses. I heard Trey White actually came out and said, he was like, before the season, he was like, it's going to be a lot harder on defenses than people realize, because we do, and especially at home, we count on a little bit of confusion created from crowd noise. And that confusion is now lost. And it's hard enough to cover NFL receivers in the first place, let alone when they can literally yell to their quarterback while they're doing their route.
I wonder how many of yeah, that's a good point. I wonder how many. Obviously, this has an impact, but I wonder how many of the last, or how many. What was the stat? Can you read that back to me?
So it was
offensive touchdowns, right?
So offensive, and that doesnn't include like a pick six. Right. That's offensive touchdowns.
Yeah. So I wonder how many of those have been in the last 10 years.
That's what I was gonna say. Part of that too, I think, is probably just a trend, the way the game's going.
Not saying this hasn't had an impact, because it obviously has.
But I would be curious to see if it's like trending
like
upwards,
every year,
right? Yeah. Like I'm sure the last 10 years, like it's probably been a lot more than it was before.
I would bet at least like 6 are in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. Like, so biggest surprise of I mean, you have your 10 questions.
Yeah.
We won't we'll recap week one, like kind of like brush it over, and then we'll do your Brandon's.
Well, I think the questions will serve as a
but I think a lot of them are like
bigger, like going
into week 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So week 1, best take of last episode was Russell Wilson MVP by me, right?
I don't know. What about Aaron Rodgers MVP conversation?
Yeah, that we'll talk about in the 10 questions for sure. But
if we start talking about something that's in your questions, just cut it off.
Yeah.
But what do you like? Are we going into it now, or do we want?
I'm just glad everybody is seeing what I've been saying all along. Tom Brady, systems quarterback. He's not who you think he is, guys. Yeah, sure. Is he 43 years old? Yeah.
Again, last week we said who's better? Who's going to be better, Patriots or Bucks? You were the only one who picked the Bucks.
See, no, I don't think that was the question. I think it was who benefits more, or at least that's the way I answered.
I guess.
And I think from Brady leaving, Brady going, or the Bucks or the Patriots.
You said the Bucks.
And I said the Bucks because they're getting all those free agents coming. I didn't say who would be better.
Okay.
So I think I'm riding. It's a Skip Bayless swerve for sure, but it's valid because that is what I said. I would never cheer for Tom Brady.
What you also did say though is
they're going to be in the Super Bowl against the Bills. Yeah, that was just because I want the Bills
but I was
to beat Tom Brady.
I was actually going to give you a compliment. You also said the Cowboys were going to be
overhyped,
disappointed.
Yeah, just like every
disappointment. And it looks like they are.
What did you guys make of the offensive? There was a couple offensive pass interference penalties. There was the one on Michael Gallup in the Sunday Nighter,
and then the one you really want to bring up, which is the
AJ Green one. Yeah. What were your thoughts on those? I personally, I know I have a bit of a stake in this. I thought they were both pretty soft. I think like like Jalen Ramsey sold the Michael Gallup one pretty well, as did I believe it was Casey Hayward on AJ Green. Like they did the
AJ Green one.
By the letter of the law, they are penalties, but it's like, are you gonna like really call that in the NFL?
I think it was a little bit too much, especially at the end of the game. But then, like, conventional wisdom says, like, you should be calling it the same the entire way, regardless. I think that it was a real shame that Randy hurt his calf at the end of that game. Randy Bullock. I just hope he's all right. I hope it's not career-ending.
Well, they claimed a kicker off waivers. So.
Yeah, after that Burrow loss.
Hall of Fame move to shank the field goal and just grab your calf.
So I mean I think they were definitely penalties, but I tend to agree with you. I mean, it would have been better for the league if Joe Burrow walked off that game.
Yeah.
It really just would be.
The Gallup one too. It was like he was running by Ramsey.
This is your number 1 overall pick. This is your big storyline coming in. Like, the Bengals are an absolute god-awful organization. I'm sorry to say. I'm used to it. I'm a Bills fan. We used to have that before the McDermott era. But, like, how good does it look for your first overall pick to come into an absolute dumpster fire of an organization and battle them back with a last-second touchdown in Game 1? That would have been electric.
So you're
and
saying
that
they
would have
should
been.
change the rules?
I'm not saying
for
that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying it's a shame that happened.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Make the kick.
Especially
No,
like
dude, obviously make it.
Yeah.
But make the kick would have just tied it. I'm
Yeah,
saying like that
but then-
AJ Green touchdown. It was a nice pass. It was a great, and it was a push off. But was it like
especially with a guy like AJ Green, like generally, like I know he's been hurt the last couple of years, but he's a superstar.
You want the superstar
Yeah,
treatment.
exactly.
Yeah.
He's a superstar in this league, and I do like if that was Michael Thomas or Julio Jones, I don't think they're throwing a flag.
No.
Yeah.
And another thing that I heard too, I think actually I heard this on Part of My Take. I think if they have
You're listening to Part of My
no,
Take
my
now?
buddy, so my buddy sent me that clip about Randy Bullock, so I was
The
listening
best.
to that.
Yeah.
But they were one thing they said was that if there were fans in the stadium, do you think those calls get made? The flag calls?
Oh yeah. Because they're like
I
the
guess
refs still want to survive.
The Gallup one, I guess, was on the road, so that might have been a little bit different.
Yeah.
But the rabid fans in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not going to speculate on that.
But I'm sure that has had an
it
impact
had-
in some way or another on refs.
Yeah.
The crowd noise on whether or not they make a call.
I think they just need to like figure out what it is and call it the same. Because that's like they can't like you.
That's
it's
the
like
problem in
pick
the
and
NFL,
choose.
for
That's the
sure.
problem in like
A lot
every
of sports,
sport.
yeah.
Really.
All right. Do you want to do 10 questions now?
A little more. Look, you want to talk a little more on week one?
Yeah, if you got more, keep going. For sure.
Well, I wanted to talk about the Washington football team.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
The Eagles, to me, are one of the most.
One of the best
Speaking
jokes
of good takes,
Sure.
Chase Young, rookie sack record. You got one and a
One and a
half
half,
in
yeah.
the first game.
All
And-
right.
He's
and
on pace.
Their defense
for 24.
Their defense had 8 sacks.
Really? I didn't
in
know
that
that.
game.
Their
Wow.
line looks dangerous.
They have a good. They spent a lot of draft capital
Ryan
on that
Kerrigan,
line.
Montez Sweat,
Jonathan Allen?
Chase Young. That's scary.
Yeah.
So that's something to look out for. Who do they play this week?
So do you think that is more reflection on them maybe being better than people think, or the Eagles just aren't as good as people think?
I think it's they're better than people think.
I think
so?
it's a bit of both. The Eagles, to me, are one of the most perplexing teams in the NFL where I can never get a grip on them.
The Eagles had 3 injuries to their offensive line before that game, so we also have to take that into consideration.
This is true.
But I think the fact that Ron Rivera came in, he's an amazing coach. He's better than Jay Gruden. He can utilize the personnel that they have a lot better than Jay Gruden, and they now have Chase Young. So they now have 2 guys on their line that you have to double with Jonathan Allen and Chase Young. So that creates an entirely and I heard another thing I heard on Part of My Take. I feel like we're just like stealing their thunder here, but Carson Wentz is like brutal at escaping sacks.
Is he?
He always just seems to turn like how like when you like they feel the heat here and they turn the right way. He always like turns into the sack.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have a soul.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I think that was again, Mike. That was a good take on Chase Young, and I think they're gonna surprise a lot of people this year. The football team, I do. I think especially if Haskins can manage the game properly. Like
The other big surprise winner, which now that I look at it, shouldn't have been a surprise. I was in a survivor pool at work and I picked the Colts, but you should never bet on Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
And that one too. Do you think that's a reflection of maybe the Jags being people underselling the Jags, or were the Colts overrated?
Undersell the Jags.
A bit of both again, too. I don't want to sit on the fence here. I know, sorry.
You guys both over there. I like to give a fucking stern take, and I'll live with the take.
I'm pissed because I'm out of my survivor pool week 1, but half the people in it took the Colts.
The thing,
What you got to hope for now is that the season ends early and they just restart it.
Well, so they're allowing you to keep going, like a double elimination, but there's a trophy at the end, and if you're not eligible for the trophy if you've already been eliminated, unless everyone gets one elimination.
I think you should be allowed to buy. I mean, this is obviously your office's pool.
Yeah,
I'm out of it. You should be allowed one buy-in, one buy back in, right?
Yeah, well, you are, but you don't win the trophy.
No, but I think you should be allowed to win the trophy with a buyback.
but that'd be so
Then
frustrating.
someone
But you
goes
only get one
undefeated?
buyback.
I guess.
Yeah, but what if someone goes all the way?
Then it's theirs. But
Exactly, that's what it is. That's
No.
the rule.
Then it's a fight. Then you guys got to fight for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I I love Gardner Minshew. First of all,
He's just a good-looking man.
good-looking man.
Like,
he's got a very unique personality. He's he's just great. And
he almost
plus,
he's like he reminds me of like I guess not really. 'Cause
he
he's
should
not-
be a
he's not-
NASCAR driver. Like he should, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but he's
that's
almost
what he
like
is. Like he's like
yeah, but he's also kind of like a hippie.
Yeah.
Like, he's like he always gonna say he reminds me of like Sunshine and remember that. Look, he's different because he's not
He
gay.
does, yeah.
But he's like this like hippie guy like come into the team. They're like, what's this guy's deal? And then he's just slinging
Just
footballs. Yeah.
yeah. The,
Like, oh, he's from California.
Yeah, I want to give a little bit of fantasy advice for people out there. Laviska Shenault, pick him up if he's available. This guy lines up at wide receiver, slot, and outside. This guy lines up at running back. This guy lines up at quarterback in the Wildcat. This guy is going to be utilized in every single way possible on this offense, and he will put up points. That is an Aaron Ranson guarantee.
Wow.
Stamp it.
This is the first one we got stamped.
Stamp it. Put it in a file for later, and just trust me on this. This guy is
We
sick.
might have to put that in the doc.
Yeah.
This guy is
A
sick.
stamped guarantee.
Yeah, like Laviska Shenault, unless he gets injured, which I hope he has a little bit of history with. I think he had a core injury in his senior year at Colorado Buffalo at University of Colorado last year, but he's very good. Keep an eye on him. If he's on your waiver wire, pick him up. That's my recommendation, and he will challenge DJ Shark for the number one wide receiver spot by the end of the year. That's my take.
You know what we need to do, I think, is once we blow up, once this podcast blows up, when we hire a producer, we need to have them keep a running of all the guarantees we make, and then go through and like a month later, be like, all right, let's check on your guarantees from a month ago. And we'll just run through them and be like, you way off on this.
Yeah.
You got this one a bit.
Well, I added Laviska Shenault to my team this year, so
Yeah.
I will be.
You're putting your money where your mouth is.
I'll be updating all of you guys on how it's been
If it goes
going.
well.
Yeah.
It's like the
If
the
it doesn't
account
go-
You're
if it
never
doesn't
gonna
go
hear his
well,
name
it's like,
again.
oh.
the accountability that like Don Cherry never has to get, where he just like
Yeah.
he just says like 5 things every week, but then they never it never gets referenced again.
Yeah.
But like Skip and Shannon, like they have to keep each other accountable. Like they'll say something and the other guy will bring it up next week. But you said this.
All right.
'Cause I'm
questions?
burning up for your questions.
All right. With that
Aaron's-
intro.
Aaron sucks. Guy fucking sucks.
That was a hell of an intro. So we got, again, like we said last week, we're going to do our 10 questions from the forefront. I think that's the name here. We'll read them out on the podcast. I'll put them up on the website. So here we go.
Lots of content on the website.
Oh, yeah, there's burning
I'm
up.
gonna try to get some stuff up there.
Get to the
I'm just
website.
busy.
Question number 1. Are the Browns who we thought they were? Obviously, they got smoked by the Ravens in week 1.
I mean, I don't. It's tough to judge a team when you lose to the Ravens. I think.
Yeah.
Like it's the Chiefs are probably the best team in the league. Ravens are right there. It's 1A and 1B. They didn't look good. Baker Mayfield doesn't look good.
No.
But
No, he does not.
again, like I don't know. I'm not gonna write them off.
Is-
If they lost to any other team besides the Ravens or the Chiefs, then maybe I would be more inclined to rip them apart. But
See, normally I would agree with you that a team losing to the Ravens, you can't take too much from that.
it didn't look
for,
good.
Except
It didn't look
for
good.
this team. Maybe every other team in the NFL, but just because the history of this franchise, they ruin everything. They just can't get it right.
I'm gonna say that they handily defeat your Cincinnati
Really?
Bengals.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
Take
I like that.
take Browns with the 6 points. Is it 6 points?
-6.
Minus
Browns
6. Take the
-6.
Browns -6.
Battle
This
of
is,
Ohio tonight.
This is what Joe Burrow's gonna do to the Browns tonight. I was gonna rip a fart, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
it.
we're not. We're
Shut
not.
the bed.
It's inappropriate. Yeah, you know, I got a little scared. I was like, I'm gonna stand up and
But then,
force
Joe,
this
you're-
thing out.
We're not quite into the farting into the mic category of podcasts yet.
Is that a category?
Yeah,
I'm sure it is.
What are you talking about?
ASMR.
Your mom's house?
Yeah, that's
they have
true.
a fart mic.
That's true. That's
they
true.
literally have a fart mic.
That's true. But yeah, so
It's a separate mic though.
I'm
Don't fart
saying
into your own mic.
Joe Burrow is going.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is going to tear the shit out of that Browns secondary.
Their defense is really banged up too.
Especially in the slot. And guess who's in the slot?
Tyler
Boyd. ready to
Yeah.
receive.
So they gave up the most yards to any team in the NFL last
And
week
to
in the
slot.
slot.
Yeah,
yeah,
to slot, yeah.
The most yards to anybody out of the slot. Part of that was Mark Andrews, and he's obviously a premier tight end. But they did give up a ton of yards in the slot. And that's a spot where Joe Burrow has historically loved to go.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, so look for Tyler Boyd to have a big night tonight. Again, I just think the Browns are. Baker Mayfield is really.
You said last week you made a guarantee they were going to make the playoffs.
The Browns?
Did I
You
say
did.
that?
Yes.
Ooh.
I didn't hear you.
Did I
say
take that
don't know.
back?
Dude, I edit the podcast. I know everything that's said.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of your takes.
Yeah, I'm gonna
You're
take
like,
that one.
I'm saying the Browns make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that one back. The Browns suck.
Here it is.
Baker just doesn't. I don't know.
Just no consistency
Yeah.
week to week with Brad.
Speaking of no consistency, Baker Mayfield does not.
No, he's consistently poor.
Yeah, he is not living up to the hype. So that takes us into question number 2. Is Joe Burrow further along than Baker Mayfield? Like today, maybe we'll find this out tonight. Is Joe Burrow at this point in time a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
So he did struggle a little bit. Again, so this is actually a 2-point question.
No.
The second part of this, will Burrow make it
Yes.
through the season healthy as well?
Yes. Joe Burrow is like one of the toughest quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I think I don't know how much of that game did
Dude,
you watch?
the guy. Like,
I watched the
What do
entire
you
game.
think? Do you think the Bengals would have been in the game against the Ravens? You think it would have been a close game?
No, but
And do you think the Browns would have got blown out by the Chargers?
I don't know if that's apples to apples.
Well, that's what the question is.
I think the Browns would have got not handily beaten, but I don't think that would have been as close of a game. Browns Chargers, and I think the Bengals
the Chargers are not good.
they have a really good defense.
Yeah, their defense is good.
and Tyrod Taylor at this point.
Specifically, their defensive line, and the Bengals had two.
Their secondary is really good too.
But their defensive line is like top 3 in the league.
Yeah,
With Joey Bosa, Jerry Tillery, and Ingram. Like they're unbelievable.
there was a play in that game where Bobby Hart, who's the Bengals right tackle, and just for people that aren't Bengals fans, maybe Toronto sports fans, he is the Cody Cece of the Cincinnati Bengals, where he's a guy that they've just stuck with. He gets paid a lot of money, and just fans can't figure it out. There was a play where he was playing. He's obviously the right tackle. Jerry Tillery was the defensive tackle lined up to his left, and Joey Bosa was the left end lined up to Bobby Hart's right. Mm-hmm. They both went right around him, and Bobby Hart was just standing there, like in his offensive lineman stance, like moving around. And they both just go and just cry, like they both get to Burrow. I think Burrow got rid of the ball, so it wasn't a sack. But it's just like, man, like they got to figure something out if they're going to try and keep this guy healthy.
Yeah,
I've never understood that when you invest this much in a quarterback and then you try and cheap it out on the offensive line. Obviously, Jonah Williams is their left tackle. He was their first-round pick 2 year ago. Missed all of last season with an injury. So he's back this year. He looked okay in his first game. Their right guard, who is Xavier Suafilo, he's going to be out for a while. So they're going to have a lot of problems, I think, now, especially on that right side of the line where Bobby Hart sucks, and they got a backup right guard, who I believe Fred Johnson is going to start at right guard for them tonight.
Interesting.
Fred Johnson.
Yeah. So they just picked him up off the street.
Yeah, or Billy Price, who was a first-round pick a couple years ago, who can't even get into
That's good.
the starting lineup. So
I say Joe Burrow is better than Baker Mayfield, and the reason I say that is because more my disdain for Baker Mayfield than it is my love of Burrow, which also kind of plays into it. But I just think that Baker has been given every opportunity to succeed, and he hasn't done it yet. So I'm gonna go with the devil I know, which is Joe Burrow. And that's the wrong thing to say because that doesn't apply. I'm gonna go with the unknown in Joe Burrow than something that I definitely know hasn't worked in Baker Mayfield.
the one thing,
Because I've seen Joe Burrow dominate, even though it was in the SEC, which is like the best division in college football. He was the most dominant quarterback in the history of the SEC. And I think if you give him the weapons and he's able to adjust a little bit to these offensive line woes, then I think he can be very dangerous. And I don't think Baker has shown that ability to be dangerous.
the one thing I think that helps Burrow too, I think I said this last week, is that Joe Burrow's 6'4", Baker Mayfield is listed at 6'1", and I think that's generous.
Are you John Elway?
Yeah, but I just think it is hard to play quarterback in the NFL when you're short, right? Like Russell Wilson, Drew Brees,
Kyler
Kyler Murray are like kind of the exceptions to the rule. Like That's 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks and
one that could.
yeah, like one who's looked really good this year. But
You gotta be. You're saying like to be that size, you have to be the cream of the crop.
yeah,
to
and Baker
succeed.
just hasn't shown it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, I think just Burrow has a higher floor. I think he's probably. If I'm picking one, like if you had to pick one of them tonight to start, who are you taking? One, like just quickly. You're taking Burrow,
It's not
obviously.
fair for me. Yeah. Like,
You're taking Burrow. Would you take Burrow or Baker to start tonight for you? Like, say the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers is hurt. You got to pick one of them to play for the Packers.
I would probably pick Joe Burrow.
Yeah, see? There it is. All right.
But
He's more fun.
that's also like, I mean, ask me again next week.
Yeah.
There's a good chance
You're
it
right.
changes.
You're
Like,
right.
it's literally, it's like, what have you done for me lately?
You're right.
Right?
Speaking with your Green Bay Packers and their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, you predicted last week that he was going to return to his MVP form. He looked very good last week. Is this return to form the real deal? Will we see this the rest of the year?
Well, I said the first week. So
So
yeah.
you're going to stick with it? You think it's real?
You're going to see
doubling-
it. You're
he's
going to see it
doubling
against
down.
the Lions this week.
Yeah.
He's doubling down.
Yeah. That's not a very good team in Detroit.
Doubling down.
What about you?
I don't know. I just thought of a cool little segment. If you double down on a take, we should get one of those Irish hats because you're doubling down. Cool or nah?
Yeah. I mean, you should always double down. It's your take. Like, you just completely abandoned your take.
But
Yeah,
that's
the
what I'm
Brown-
saying.
yeah.
He abandoned the take so he wouldn't be doubling down.
It should almost, but there's gonna be you should almost always be doubling down.
No,
Otherwise,
not all-
don't make the take.
No, if you're
Okay,
gonna
Skip.
yeah, I guess if
No,
if that's
Skip
the way-
he's a shapeshifter.
Fair enough.
He like gets out of takes.
Yeah, he can dip and dodge. He's up on the ropes all the time.
So yeah, Rodgers last week, 32 for 44, 364 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. They kind of cut apart the Vikings defense.
I think the Vikings defense is just not what people think it is.
You're right. It's not what it used to be. They lost a lot of guys in that secondary. Just a lot of the linebackers too don't seem to be what they used to be. Like Anthony Barr is still playing, I believe.
He is. Kendricks is
good too. The two of them are good. I think they've kind of taken a bit of a step back.
But they don't have Xavier Rhodes anymore.
Trey Waynes is
They
gone.
don't have Trey Waynes. Like
Mackenzie Alexander. That's their three corners.
That
right there.
that entire secondary is brand new. So
Harrison Smith is
we will see about Aaron Rodgers this week.
Well, the
I
Lions
like-
they're not any better. Their defense isn't any better.
I know that.
It's probably
Yeah.
worse.
So-
yeah, it's probably worse. But
Ooh.
so
we
see.
won't see until
Just to
week 3 they play the Saints.
not to sidetrack, but I just saw the Thursday nighter for next week. It is the Miami Dolphins
Yeah, I
going
know.
to Jacksonville to take on the
yeah,
Jaguars.
like just burn that one, dump it,
Jesus.
trash it. Why
Yeah,
are
we
they
don't
even-
need to see that.
Yeah.
I'll watch it. Gardner Minshew, baby. Let's roast.
Next
Yeah,
question.
but- well, just
Oh.
to piggyback on that, the week 3 the Packers play the Saints, so that's where we'll see. We'll get a sense of what's actually going on.
Was week 1 a preview of we touched on this a little bit. Was week 1 a preview for things to come in the Patriots Brady divorce? Obviously, Cam Newton and the Patriots looked amazing. Bill Belichick.
They didn't though.
Well, they
They look solid.
I don't think they looked.
I
They
think
took
looked-
care of business.
Yeah.
They took care of business.
Sure, that's
yeah, but
fair.
the Bucks didn't.
Yeah.
That's they. This is
one,
what
one of them played
Brady-
One of them played the Dolphins. One of them played the Saints.
Yeah.
Let's put that
This-
out there.
yeah.
Context is important.
but the he was
Patriots
making
couldn't-
some like mistakes.
the Patriots couldn't pass the ball to save their fucking life.
But,
let's get real
But
here.
they won.
They won, but they
Right.
won on the ground. So
It's
that's
not Newton.
that's-
We're not talking Newton versus Brady. It's Belichick versus
But
Brady.
that's what I'm talking about. The entire offense, not just Newton.
right.
Their entire offense didn't seem like they were able to get it going up until the 3-minute mark. They were only up by 3. It was 14-11 until 2 minutes left in the game when Cam scored that last touchdown. So they did not by any means blow out the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins suck. So obviously we're going to see it. The Bills are going to dominate the Dolphins this weekend. So you're going to see it. You're going to see the Miami Dolphins crumble, and we're going to have to take another look at the Patriots. Is that me being a Bills fan, being completely biased? Yes, 100%. But I don't think the Patriots should get really any credit for that win. Cam did what he does. He ran in a couple touchdowns, but their passing offense was anemic. N'Keal Harry looks like a bust already. Julian Edelman did
Canadian N'Keal Harry.
Yeah,
Dial it back there.
Julian Edelman did what he does, and Brady looked old as hell.
What was the
Brady
question?
looked old as hell.
What was the question?
Is this a preview to come for the Patriots Brady divorce? I think it is. I think they're both average teams. I think that's what it is.
So
I think the Patriots will make the playoffs.
the one thing too,
And I think the Bucks. I said it's like boom or bust. And I know they played the Saints, so it's hard. But Brady didn't look in sync with the offense.
He looked bad.
Yeah.
a lot of people over the course of time have lost a lot of money betting against the Patriots and Tom Brady after an early season stumble. I know things are different now, but we'll see what's to come there.
Yeah.
Brady also this week has a chance to set the record for most consecutive games with a pick six. I believe Matt Schaub has the record, so he has a chance to.
I believe in you, Tom. You can do it.
So look out for that. That could be big. Will the kicking woes continue next week into week 2? Obviously, there was no preseason. That seems to have affected the kickers. Maybe even the no crowd, because I know one of the things, again, on Pardon My Take, was a lot of kickers like to pick a guy
You
out.
did watch the whole episode.
I literally listened to that 5 minutes. That's all
right.
This, again, was all in that 5 minutes. A lot of guys pick a guy out in the crowd and try and kick the ball at him. That's a lot of the thing that
So just pick a seat.
I guess all the seats look the same. I don't know. So
I don't know what kicking woes you're talking about. Mason Crosby looked fine.
there were 19. These are the kicking woes. There were 19 missed field goals in week 1. We talked about.
Should have been 18. Tyler Bass's field goal was in.
We talked.
That first one was in, and I don't know if anybody saw that, but they went over it on the broadcast after. It went complete. It was higher than the post, but it was right on. It was right over the post. So it was in.
We talked about our friend of the show, Randy Bullock, missing the field goal and blowing out his calf in the process.
Gostkowski.
Gostkowski missed.
Prayers up for Randy.
Yeah, both his calves are hurt.
He did the Vince McMahon when he was trying to get in the Royal Rumble. He tore both his
So
claws.
so just
Continues yelling.
Randy he grabbed his right calf and then told the media after the game it was his left calf that he hurt. So
He was in shock. He didn't know which one to grab because it was so much pain.
someone's laptop's playing something here.
Oh, that's mine, sorry.
It's all right. So then Steven Gostkowski, I think he missed 3 field goals and 1 extra point. Ended up kicking the game winner, but it seems like the kickers really struggled. Do we think that's going to continue for the rest of the year?
Probably not.
No, probably not.
I think that was just an aberration. I think they can, if there is an adjustment to be made with having no fans, I think they'll be able to make it.
Yeah.
Maybe it just takes a couple of weeks. To me, the picking out a fan, it seems like you could be able to there's got to be something else there that you can look at.
Yeah.
The next question's mean.
So we'll go on to the next question now.
I don't even have the questions. I like it. I like it.
Are you concerned? This is obviously I try and throw a Bills, Bengals, and Packers question there in this. So this is the Bills questions. Are you concerned about Josh Allen's fumbling? He has 24 fumbles in 29 career games, and then in those 29 career games, he has 45 total turnovers. Does that concern you?
Let's also be fair. The majority of those turnovers were in the first half of his career.
Yeah. So rookie quarterbacks obviously turn the ball over a lot. I believe he had 12 interceptions his first year, 9 the second year. So he improved there.
Yeah, and it were only 2 in the last 8 games of last year.
Okay.
Interceptions. More fumbles. And am I concerned? Yeah, I'm very concerned with the fumbling. But what I'm more concerned with is our ability to protect Josh Allen in respect to when we're calling quarterback designed runs. So we're up 21-3 in the third quarter in Jets territory. Do we need to run a quarterback option? No. Let's protect him, okay? We have 2 young running backs that can do the job. Why does Josh need to be running and because the way he runs, he doesn't protect himself. This guy is balls to the wall. He's going to try to push for that extra yard. That's just who he is. And if you give him the opportunity to do it, he's going to do it. And then those kinds of plays lead to fumbles. The more he rushes, the more fumbles he gets. He's not fumbling in the pocket. All these fumbles are off of the quarterback designed runs. So I think dial back the quarterback designed runs, use them more strategically. Sure, in the beginning of the game, if you want to try to open things up down the field by keeping the defense honest and having Josh do a few quarterback designed runs, sure, that's a valid strategy. But when we're up 21-3, you do not need Josh running. That is our franchise. Like, that is the Bills franchise. You cannot put him at risk like that. That's just stupid. It just makes no sense. And sure, maybe Josh is audibling and calling those things himself, but you need to discipline him and tell him that you cannot be fucking doing that. Because that's not responsible. That's not how you win games in the NFL. Turnovers are one of the biggest indicators of success.
Yep.
So you just can't have that. And I'm very concerned about the fumbling, but I think that fumbling goes down if you're smarter with your play calling. But I also don't want to take away Josh's like will to win and his ability to do those things. So that's only in the context of like a 21-3 game. He does not need to be running.
Yeah, that's the thing. He needs to run to be effective because he's not an accurate enough passer.
But he was accurate last game.
I'm looking at
sure against the Jets, but in his career he has been one of the most inaccurate passers in the NFL on balls down the field. So he needs to run to be effective.
But I think he's worked on that over the last 3. He's been consistently getting better in his accuracy every single year. That's something you can't deny. He has been consistently getting better every single year with his accuracy, and now he has a number 1 receiver. And it helps a lot when you're a quarterback where you can just look down the field and you have that guy that no matter what, you can just chuck it to him. It's like a Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Or like an AJ Green.
Let's move on from this question. I was just gonna say I'm looking at all the like quarterbacks like stats. I'm like, this is just like the amount of rushes they've had in their career versus the amount of fumbles, and his rate is no higher than like anyone else's, like or Aaron Rodgers.
The rate is
Brady.
no. The
that's
rate
why I'm saying you need to rush him less.
But
that's
I think
what I'm saying.
But that's my point is that he needs to run to be effective.
But even like the guys who run,
right?
It's not any more.
Brandon, his most effective runs are scrambles. They're not option runs.
Right, but he's
like,
still right.
Scrambling is completely different. Quarterback option runs are like designed like this guy's running now. No, you know what I'm. But for the lowest common denominator out there that maybe doesn't know what I'm talking about. That's the difference. A scramble where like it was a called pass and he's just scrambling for yards. That's the magic of Josh Allen. Because he doesn't quit on plays. Calling quarterback designed runs is just ineffective. You want to move on. Let's move on. I'm getting heated.
So Josh Allen
did
this against the New York Jets last week. The Jets were playing without LeVeon Bell, who has a hamstring injury. Or did Bell play in that game and get hurt?
He played in that game until the third quarter.
And he got hurt in that game with a hamstring injury.
And he did nothing all game.
Has LeVeon Bell played his last game with the New York Jets? He's had a bit of a turbulent season there.
Yeah.
Because I guess in the preseason he was sitting out, or in the training camp he was sitting out for a bit with the Jets. What they claimed was a hamstring injury. Bell said, "There's nothing wrong with my hamstring." Clearly, there's something wrong with his hamstring. Do you think he's done in New York?
Yes. Who the fuck knows? Yeah. But I would say, like, this is kind of usually how these kind of things end. Like, it's a bad relationship, guy gets hurt, and then it's just, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, yeah, he's probably done.
I say it depends on when Gase gets fired.
You think if Gase gets fired, he comes back?
Well, I think if Gase gets fired and it's a brand new coach coming in, maybe he'd be more likely to come back because he'd be like, okay, like maybe I can work with this guy. I'm still getting paid. I'm still a name that you can promote for the New York Jets. Like having LeVeon Bell is like their one thing.
Yeah, they have a young quarterback they should be promoting, right? Yeah, yeah, he has not looked very good. But
I'm sorry.
I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be worth the headache for them to keep Le'Veon Bell around, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, at this point, like,
what is he? Yeah, like, what is he doing to their? Is he putting them over the top? Like,
no,
what's the point of like having him on? Yeah, there's no
trade out, like cut him, trade him to a contender, like just get out from. And he's got a huge contract.
There's so many like the NFL, like running backs especially, like
guys just fall.
Careers like end so poorly,
abruptly.
Except unless you're like Frank Gore, you just like keep.
Yeah, you're gonna play till your son's in the league.
Yeah, but
so another up and comer in the NFL, like quarterback Sam Darnold. We touched on him a little bit earlier. Is Gardner Minshew for real?
Yeah.
I saw a take on on Twitter from a guy, I can't remember his name, a guy from PFF who said that if Gardner Minshew was the quarterback for the Jaguars in 2018 when they made the playoffs, they would have won the Super Bowl.
That's a bold
which is
take.
huge hot take.
Yeah.
But
All I know is every time I see him marching up and down the field, just like Careless Whisper is playing in my head.
Yeah.
He's just a sexy, sexy quarterback that just moves the ball flawlessly. I don't know. He's just so much fun.
I think he's more real than some people give him
Wanna
credit
believe,
for. Like
yeah.
I don't think he's a joke. I think he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, but I don't think he's like ever going to be like a top 10 quarterback in the league. But he's a legit like starter.
yep.
I think he's for real.
Like what
And I think he's going to be helped out
is
a lot
what I said
by
not for
Laviska
real. Like
Shenault.
legit starter is for real.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's like ever going to be like a top echelon guy.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not, but maybe.
Like
Maybe. He's got the confidence. He's got that it factor that Colin
cool.
Cowherd always talks about.
yeah. Well, yeah. The Colin Cowherd talks about
Yeah.
you got to be attractive.
Yeah.
That's why Sam Darnold sucks.
Yeah, cuz he's really ugly.
He's really ugly.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm looking at him right
You got to
now.
think about an ugly like how
Sorry,
good looking is Joe Burrow? Very. Right?
Yeah, he's okay.
Dude, you're nuts.
I'm gonna.
I'm like going through all my guy crushes in this one.
Joe Burrow's actually kind of ugly.
You're wrong actually on that. I'll show you a picture specific. Now, we'll go over that after, but
I think we should do
that's a hot take.
top 10 good-looking
Yeah.
quarterbacks.
And then we'll fart into the mic after.
You think
Number
Joe
one.
Burrow's
That's
better
our
looking than
podcast
Aaron
next week.
Rodgers?
I think they're different. Aaron Rodgers is like
He's a man.
Yeah,
He's a man.
he's a grizzled man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah, that's not apples to apples.
So we're gonna move on now. That's enough of the good-looking quarterback
Brandon's
talk.
uncomfortable.
I'm just getting started.
Which one?
Mike, we're gonna do a separate episode. Me and you
Yeah,
just crushing on men.
Which 1-0 team in the NFL are you the least confident in? And then the flip side of that, which 0-1 team are you the most confident in going forward?
Let me just pull up the standings.
So I'll go first. The 1-0 team that I'm the least confident in is the Las Vegas Raiders. I just don't think that team has the talent to continue. Obviously, they're playing the Carolina Panthers, who are a bit of their defense isn't very good. They don't have a quarterback, so I think they kind of just beat up on a bad team that week. They play in a tougher division. They've got to play the Chiefs twice. They got to play the Chargers twice. They got to play the Broncos twice. In those 6 games, they're not better than any of those teams in my mind. So I think they're going to be in a bit of a struggle going forward here. The 0-1 team that I am most confident in is the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, there is.
I think that's just the pick.
Yeah, I think that's the
Like,
maybe the
of
Atlanta
0-1,
Falcons,
yeah.
maybe, but
I
like
think that's the pick,
they're
though.
splitting hairs here. I think the 49ers obviously lost in the Super Bowl last year. They have one of the best running attacks in the NFL. They got like a 3-headed monster back there in the backfield. George Kittle, obviously, he's a bit banged up right now, but he's one of the premier tight ends in the league. So if I had to pick one of the 0-1 teams that I think is most likely to rebound, it's going to be the 49ers.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to say anything else for that one.
Yeah, maybe the Buccaneers if you're a believer in
No.
Brady, but
maybe the Texans or the Colts.
yeah, the Texans are a good one too. I don't know about the Colts.
But like you don't like.
The Dallas Cowboys.
None of those teams. Yeah, and again, like we just said, none of those teams are better than the Niners.
I just think the Niners are the pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And as of for the 1-0 teams, I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
I was going to
Really?
say that.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about, like, I think they.
I
don't
love their
think they're
defense.
good.
I'm never gonna bet on a Tyrod Taylor team to do anything
you
crazy.
think
Yeah.
they're worse than the Raiders?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather have Tyrod Taylor than Derek Carr.
No, not me.
No.
No,
No.
I think Tyrod Taylor. I think
Derek
that's
Carr's
another.
ceiling
That's a
is way
floor.
high.
Yeah, that's a floor ceiling.
Derek
thing.
Carr is like 28 years old now. I think.
Yeah,
he's
but
like,
we've seen him play. Like he was an MVP
Tyrod
candidate
is
one
like
year.
there's no ceiling.
no,
there's no
he's
floor.
Safe. He's safe, but I think their defense.
Derek
is
Carr
good.
can like march a team down the.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it a lot, but he can do it. Like Tyrod,
he
it's like if
real-
you go down 2 touchdowns and Tyrod Taylor's your quarterback, the game's over. The game's over.
2 years ago,
Ask Aaron.
2 years ago, Derek Carr was like in MVP conversations.
Yeah.
No,
Yes,
20,
he
it was
was.
2016.
Okay,
I'm looking at it here.
Whatever.
'Cause
Fuck. He has
But
been
he
in
has
the,
the
past.
ability to
that's
be.
what I mean by
a
that.
Derek Carr's 29, first of all, too. I just
Okay,
that's
to
what I
correct
mean
that.
by
Like
that.
he's almost 30 years old.
But
And he's got a lot of new weapons around him. He's
Yeah.
more likely
There's
than
a
Tyrod.
ceiling, the higher ceiling.
Yes.
Maybe, man.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's just you trying not to admit you're
And
wrong.
I also think like the rest of the
Like, maybe.
the rest of the offense is better with the Raiders.
I think that's debatable too, right? Like, who's like Jacobs is good, but everything else around that isn't anything spectacular. And I think Eckler might be a better overall football player than Jacobs. And then like I'd like the Chargers offense more.
I
Like
don't
the
agree with that.
Did
at
you
all.
watch the game the first week?
No, I did. Yeah. Like Jacobs is more of like a goal line back, but Eckler's a better pass catcher.
I think this
I don't
comes from,
agree
I
with
think
that
this all
either.
comes from
Man.
you thinking the Bengals are better than they are, and the Chargers squeaking
No.
by the Bengals.
Eckler like led the NFL in receptions from a running back.
Yeah, but he
last year,
also
other
had
than
Melvin
McCaffrey.
Gordon next to him too.
Yeah, well, Gordon was awful last year.
Yep, no, but he wasn't awful.
He wasn't
last
good.
year. He was not like what he's used
Right.
usually, but he's still another guy that defenses have to worry about back there. That's called a decoy. That like works all the time in the NFL.
But like they very rarely were they on the field together.
It doesn't matter when they're on the field. Like it just matters what the defense is reading. And if you have a guy like Melvin Gordon come in, and then you're also switching a guy with Austin Eckler, that's two different dynamics that defenses always constantly have to worry about.
Like Gordon ran
And you
for
can
600 yards
you
last
can
year.
play. I think he only played half
He
the
played
games.
12 games. He had 3.8 yards per carry.
Okay. Well, he was a factor in their offense, and I did not see Austin Eckler, especially in game 1. I didn't see Austin Eckler do anything that special
He
against
had
the Bengals
80
defense.
yards.
But he really was. It wasn't anything special. I played him in fantasy. I was watching him very closely the entire game. I was like, this guy is not that good. I'm glad I didn't draft him. Anyways,
To wrap up here, unless you have anything else to add here.
no.
All right, wrap up.
Chargers are my pick for the 1-0 team that's going to die down.
Does anyone else who we didn't mention last week belong in the MVP conversation now after 1 week of football?
I have to.
Do you have one?
rack my brain.
To be honest, yeah, I don't like
Let's think. Like we mentioned who got brought up last week: Wilson, Rodgers,
Mahomes,
Matt Stafford,
Jackson.
I mean,
Jackson.
Obviously, we talk like it's so rare that
The
a wide
one-
receiver wins it, and I don't think it's ever happened.
It's happened like
Dude,
30 years ago. Like,
DeAndre Hopkins,
yeah, that's the
that
one guy.
First game
Yeah.
was like fucking sick.
I was gonna say like a dark horse, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Yeah.
That would be the. But
But then I guess if Hopkins is that's kind of the same argument.
Yeah.
like, do you think it's more likely that Hopkins gets it, or that Murray gets it?
Well, I think it usually ends up being the quarterback, right? Unless Hopkins is like getting 200 yards
Yeah.
every game, it's probably gonna end
But
up
I
being
mean,
the
if
quarterback.
Michael Thomas didn't win it last year, like
Yeah, it's hard for a receiver to
Yeah.
win MVP. Like,
like Michael Thomas set the receptions record
but
last
right,
year.
any stat that a receiver's getting, the quarterback's also getting that stat. Plus, they're doing more, so I
Yeah.
don't like.
But also, Michael Thomas did it with Teddy Bridgewater. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. I as much as that was my take.
But like
saying
Lamar,
DeAndre could
Lamar
have-
was a reason. Like that wasn't like unreasonable that
Yeah.
he didn't win it. I don't think. Like I think Lamar Jackson was probably the most valuable player in the league last year.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say
I think
I mean-
Murray is a good dark horse.
yeah. If a
But
certain guy can clean up the fumbles, I mean, I would say maybe him.
Like I think
but-
the guys who really like Wilson and Rodgers and were probably the two best QB performances
Ryan.
of week 1.
Matt Ryan, dude, 450 yards.
Well, yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. It was because they were catching up the whole time.
But
But individual stats, that's a lot of yards to start it off. If he does.
But can you win MVP when you're 4-12?
Who knows? Yeah, probably not. But I'm just if we're saying people that haven't been in the discussion.
Yeah.
Matty Ice got 450 yards in week 1.
They'd have to win games though.
Yep. But we're not saying any guarantees. We're saying we're bringing up people that could be in it, and I think
Yeah.
Matty Ice has started off well enough that he could be in the conversation.
Gardner Minshew?
Yeah, 19 for 20.
Yeah, is he?
19 for
crazy
20 in
to
game 1.
say
all right,
Gardner Minshew.
we're already at an hour and a half here.
Yeah, so that's the NFL segment.
Do you want to? We'll just quickly touch on the Jays and the NHL.
Again, every week, Brandon puts his answers for the 10 questions at the forefront on our website, thefrontpage.ca. Check it out. We will be adding more content to that weekly. So you might see just a little bit on there as of right now, but we're going to be continuing to add stuff, and we're going to be building. So you'll be coming along for the ride with us, building as we go. And you can say, hey, I was one of the original members of the Frontier. So that's a little point of pride for you guys.
So the Jays, a bit of a rocky
Oh.
last week. So
Damien-
they got offense gets bolstered a bit out. Like Kirk gets called up.
Kirk gets called up. Bichette's back.
And Teoscar's back now. Giles is done for the year.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were kind of just preparing for that anyways.
I don't think that hurt. Like I feel like they have Romano can be the closer. Dolis can be the closer.
Dolis has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like
So I don't think that really is a crushing. It sucks for Ken Giles though. Like he's a free agent, and now it's like is he gonna get paid?
Yeah, maybe the Jays will get him on the cheap next year.
So the Jays have given up 12 home runs in the last 2 games.
Yeah,
so we've been raving about the pitching depth of this team the last few weeks, and then it looks like it's like Ryu and nothing.
Yeah,
Well, it's like now we're up against it, and we're like battling with the Yankees for like this playoff.
The Yankees
spot.
have won 7 straight,
and now they're just
3 of them against us.
It's hard. Yeah. Well, I think obviously the other guy we were talking about of the 2 starters you feel confident in was Taijuan Walker, and it's hard to
got blown up.
It's hard to pin that inning on
Derek
him though.
Fisher mistakes
Dude,
I was
yeah.
pissed.
It's hard to like. I think he gave up 6 unearned runs in that inning
Because of Fisher.
Yeah, which is like that does not happen.
2 errors in a row.
Dude, the one where he ran into the wall was one of the worst outfield plays I've ever seen.
That's I don't like.
Yeah, he was on some kind of drug. I don't know what he was on.
That's kind of going back to the deadline.
Imagine if
where we were talking about we need infield, and we kind of
he gave up. Yeah, so sorry, he gave up in that game. He gave up 7 runs, 1 earned run.
Yeah, because
so 6 unearned runs in an inning and 2/3, which is just insane.
Yeah, that was like I turned the game off after the first 2 innings.
Oh yeah, I saw
like,
as soon as I can't remember who hit the home run. It might have been Voit. Just hit like a
wasn't it
moonshot.
Sanchez?
There was a few that got
Voit
hit.
hit like a monster one,
and I was like, all right, that's enough of this. Yeah, so I don't know how much more Derek Fisher I need to see. I think he went on the IL mysteriously.
But they don't when
he went Randy Bullock and went on the IL.
When one of those 3 outfielders are hurt,
they
don't have an option.
No, they don't.
Biggio, I guess you can put him.
Biggio played right field yesterday.
Yeah,
so
because they
got smoked again last night too. So
yeah, that's what 12 home runs in 2 games.
Yeah.
That was last night and the game before.
Jay's record predictions. I'm out, so I'll leave this one to you two.
What are they at right now?
26 and 22. So we need to win out for me to be right. Like exactly right. I have us at 30.
So we have 12 games
38
left.
and 22.
And then to win we need to figure out so like I think what's for the belt now. Like I'm confused.
This is for the belt. This is the original because like our pick segment won't be over for like 3 months.
Right. So that's the belt,
so
and then that's defending.
So
the
this
belt.
is for the belt, and then that next the Battlefront draft will be for defending.
Okay,
yeah, the defense.
So to be closest,
anybody that doesn't know the Battlefront draft, we do those every week where we make our picks. And it's pretty much just an accumulative score on every week in the NFL. Like we pick out of the 16 games, we each pick a team, and we do a draft. And if you go to our YouTube page, you'll be able to see that video. It's a 17-minute video. It's called the Battlefront Draft. You'll be able to see it right there and follow along. Mike is winning right now. He's 7-3 on the week 1 picks. I'm 4-6, and Brandon is 3-7. So.
I don't know if we need to do the win-loss because, like, some of those, like, we're not really picking the team, right?
Just
like whoever's
total
left.
wins,
no,
I guess.
You're picking losses.
Well, it's like whatever's left. No, I mean, like, I don't even
the
need
teams
to say,
that
like,
you picked lost.
Right. But, like,
So
it's
that's
like
a loss.
at the end of the draft, it's like I'm just stuck with this. It's not like I'm like, I think this team's going to – like, I picked 2 teams in the same game last week.
Yeah, and you're just hedging your bets.
Right.
You can still say the loss.
I guess.
I'd say, yeah.
It's more like –
It looks more professional when you got a win-loss record.
Yeah.
And we're pros.
Yeah.
Consummate pros. So
I was trying to think of – so if the Jays go they have 26 wins and there's 12 games left. So if they go 500, if they go 6-6, I win the belt. But if they go anything more than that, Aaron wins. So it's pretty close. Brandon eliminated.
Oh, so far out. So do you want to move on to hockey now? Just quickly.
But before we said Jays are currently in a playoff spot.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, they're like
Yeah.
barring a
It'll be a
ridiculous
collapse if they don't.
They're going to be in.
Like they're
but
what 6 games up? I think
Yeah.
on Seattle.
Yep. So it's still looking good, even though the last 2 games haven't been looking good. But yeah, you know who it is looking good for? The Dallas Stars and Brandon's best friend, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe Pavelski, man, the guy just comes. You know what I should have said is Dennis Gurianov always comes to play in the playoffs because he's been.
Yeah, but
Dude, he is proving everyone wrong that thought he was.
I guess
was a reach.
He doesn't have the playoff track record
he
of
went
somebody like Joe Pavelski.
Well, he went like 12th overall in the draft, and everybody was like, "That's a reach." I remember saying it because that was when I was like really into the NHL draft. I'm about to get back into it.
It's pretty weird. Yeah, like if you look at his career stats too, like it does look to be a reach outside of this playoff run. So,
but he's proven it.
Maybe
he's proven that
yeah,
now he's got a.
Well, that team in general just like doesn't score goals during the regular season, and they just
turned it on. They just started scoring.
The one I found I was talking to a couple friends about this with hockey recently. Hockey to me, I have a hard time staying focused on the NHL. There's just so much going on right now that it's just like
I have it on my second TV.
Yeah,
it just doesn't help when like
the teams
the
left
St.
are like
Louis Blues are like the team. You know, like if it was like Canadian teams or like Pittsburgh, like maybe if McKinnon was still in, it's just tough when like
Dallas, Tampa.
Yeah. Like, I always say this. I like the first round. I mean, this is a weird year because the playoffs aren't on when they usually are. Like normally the NHL is not competing with the NFL starting, but usually
the qualifiers wrecked a lot.
Usually the NBA and the NHL playoffs are on the same time. I find myself more interested in the NHL playoffs at the beginning, and then as they go further along, it like crosses, and then I get way more into the NBA at the end.
The qualifying round ruined the first round of the NHL this year.
Yeah.
Because two 12 seeds made it, and they got fucking dummied.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Then all the parity that we see in the NHL was kind of lost from that first round because of those low seeds moving on. Like Columbus got spanked too.
Yeah.
I don't think the Leafs would have got spanked that much. I mean, obviously that's a biased opinion, but I don't think so.
I think I agree with that. Again, biased, but
so
do we see a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final?
Yes.
Tampa's up. Do you think we're going to see one?
Yes. They don't go away.
Yeah.
The Islanders don't go away.
They're the Denver Nuggets of the NHL.
It's like insane. And as much as I don't love the Islanders. I really don't. I think I've said it on here before. They're mean to my friend John Tavares, and I don't like it. But I have to give respect where respect is due. That team battles, and they would be so much fun if I was a fan of them to cheer for.
I wouldn't mind seeing like a Tampa collapse, just like
again
more heartbreak.
Yeah, I mean, another fan base getting their hearts broken is fun.
It's always fun to relish in that, right?
Because you're like, I get it. I get it.
They won a cup. They won a cup in recent history.
In 2004.
Yeah, that's
recent enough.
Yeah, it's more recent
16
than
years.
Us.
We have the Eric Staal trade in here. He's traded to Buffalo for Marcus Johansson. That's kind of a weird trade to me.
I forgot he was on in the league.
I don't know what
that trade broke yesterday.
Like I don't know why that makes sense for Buffalo.
I just put it in here because I think
some veteran leadership.
I think it's a good trade.
Yeah.
I like the move by Buffalo. I really do.
The thing that shocked me is Johansson makes more money than Staal.
Apparently Staal wasn't too happy about it either. So,
but I love the
from Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
He's like close to home.
Yeah.
And then apparently that's why he wanted to go to Minnesota, like in the first place.
I really like the move by Buffalo. I think they've got a lot of young centers. They got Casey Middlestad. They've obviously got Jack Eichel. And then adding a guy like Eric Staal, who if you were watching the play, he was still scoring at a pretty decent rate. Like he was adding the offense. He wasn't like lighting the lamp, but he's one of those guys that you can put into you can put him into a locker room and he can be successful.
Do you think that he I can't remember who I was talking about this with, but like he won a cup in his rookie year, like right, and like he seems like a guy like it was like I want to go like sign in Minnesota, like it's close to my home, like I don't really care that they're not good. Like, do you think the fact that he like won a cup early in his career has kind of made him just be like, I'm just coasting like the rest of my career. Whereas guys like a Joe Pavelski's like, I want to go sign with a team that has a chance to win a Stanley Cup.
That definitely
doesn't.
Whereas
Eric Staal doesn't really care where he plays. It's just like, I want to be close to home. As long as we're like kind of decent, as long as I'm making money, I don't really care.
Maybe.
I'm sure it takes away.
No one's ever talked about like get Eric Staal on a contender. Like,
yeah, I don't know if it's I don't know if it would be like an active thing that he would like think or say out loud, but it might have like kind of like a.
I don't think it would happen to everyone either. It's just,
no, I just think it would have. I think it would have an influence on him, like without him even knowing.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure it makes it. I'm sure when you have the motivation of your first cup, it makes it a little bit easier to grind through things.
Like I don't think,
but you wouldn't notice that difference.
I don't think he's cognizant of the fact that like that
Yeah,
like,
you're
oh,
right.
like I have a cup, so now I'm not going to do this or that.
No, not at all.
I think it's like an unconscious thing.
Yeah.
But he's like
Even if it's just mental.
Yeah.
more
he's
than
a
anything
year
else.
away from a 40-goal season. Like he's still.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't
Dude,
have
I had
that
him-
great of a year
yeah.
this year, but he's still like a pretty solid player.
That's
He's
what I'm saying.
35.
That's why
Yeah.
I like the move
Yeah.
for Buffalo. I really do.
And he's cheap. Like they got a cheap. He's cheaper than Johansson.
Yeah.
Johansson's making four and a half.
Like I like the move a lot.
Yeah. We'll see if he finishes the year there, but
So
I
this
don't-
year's World Juniors, we're moving on a little more hockey. I mean, I'm glad the World Juniors are going to be back.
Me
so the IHF have canceled every single tournament other than the under 20 World Junior Championships
especially
on
with-
the schedule. So that's
So-
the only one that they still have going. And
Yeah, 'cause I think-
and the Edmonton bubble is where that they're proposing that they're going to do.
because that's technically the 2021 World Juniors,
That's
right?
why I wrote 2021.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I didn't even see
Yeah.
that. So I think they're gonna. So I guess they wiped out everything in 2020.
Yeah,
So I guess this
So,
is just maybe hopefully they're hoping for a fresh start.
When
here.
does like
it's Christmas is when it.
I know that, but like, does this mean now? Like, do we know now that the NHL is not starting till after Christmas?
Yeah,
because that's
I
where
think
the
we-
Oilers. Would
If
have
we
to
look
play.
into it,
I think we probably knew that anyways, but yeah, you're right. You're from Alberta, that's kind of near Edmonton. You're from Calgary, that's kind of near
Alberta,
Edmonton.
Edmonton's in Alberta. Like
Geography.
yeah.
You're from the area. Is Rexall still there?
I think
Or
it
did they
is.
knock it down?
But what? Like why?
he's
'Cause you
he's
could use
wondering
that.
if you could just use the other
Oh.
arena.
Yeah.
For the Oilers.
Yeah.
Or
no,
for the bubble.
For the
For the-
bubble.
Oh, you could. That's a fucking piece of
Yeah.
shit. Like there's nothing around it.
Yeah, and
It's
again-
in like the
Is it?
suburbs.
Oh, is it?
Like you wouldn't want. I don't think they would do
It's
that.
like
Because the reason you want
Ottawa.
their new like downtown, it's like attached to hotels. There's like restaurants attached, right? Like that's the
Okay.
appeal of having the bubble there.
so
Like
yeah, I guess that probably to me means that the NHL is going to start later. I think the NBA, I've heard like insiders talk that they're probably aiming for February now. The NBA
Oh,
is the
really?
most likely start. So
so then
Those
are they
two
just gonna do a shortened season next year and
I
try
don't
and
know.
finish in June?
Finish
At some
in
point, you
July.
gotta like get it back.
you got to
on
try and
track.
finish like July, August, and then maybe you start the next season in November, and like you know what I mean?
You just keep
Slowly,
incrementally, like,
yeah.
slowly moving it back to norm.
Yeah, because I think you maybe
Pow.
they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna want to play a 60-game season though, especially if there's fans in the building too. You know what I mean?
Well, they're gonna want as much revenue
Yeah.
as they can get. I would assume.
There's a lot of gray area with that.
We
So,
also might
I
be
don't
going
think
into
we're all-
like
yeah.
another lockdown.
Yeah.
So like that's
right.
we don't know what's gonna happen.
So U.S. Open's going on right now.
Yep.
Do you have the leaderboard up
As
there?
of right now, we have. Do you want me to put it on the screen?
Yeah, the news desk here.
Oh wait. So I'm gonna X that out.
There we go. Here we go. This is huge.
Whoa, the dunes.
Mhm.
That's the 18th green
That's a bunker.
at the U.S. Open.
So yeah, so this is our leaderboard as of right now. We got Justin Thomas at the top. I'm gonna just refresh it.
It's a pretty.
Maybe something's changed, but we got some big names at the top.
Rory
which is-
Sabatini is Slovak.
I don't know. I guess.
Is that what that flag is?
Yeah.
No.
Yes,
It's
man.
either Slovak or Croatian.
That's Slovak.
Okay. So
Oh, yeah, it is,
for our
right.
Canadian fans out there, we got Corey Connors, who's actually been doing pretty well on the tour lately. He's our top scorer. He's our top guy right now. Where is he? I think he was even last I checked. Oh, did he bomb? Oh, he's +1. So Corey Connors, if you're looking for a Canadian hero, he's got his work cut out for him a little bit. I was not expecting this big of a score
That is huge
to
for a
start
US Open.
off
Yeah,
a
minus
U.S.
5.
Open, especially since the PGA actually said, or the USGA, the people who run the U.S. Open, they said like they're going back to a harder course. And there was a story of the caddies doing a walkthrough for the course where they were throwing balls on greens just to see the way like the undulation like dictated where the ball went, and like there were times where the ball would roll for 40 seconds, like it
Yeah.
would just not stop. So these greens are like crazy fast, and they're like very hard to manipulate. So the fact that Justin Thomas is -5 off the bat,
The USGA is seeing
Says a lot.
-5 at after one round.
Yeah.
Of their lead. They're having like a heart attack
Like,
right now. Like
we
they're
fucked
gonna,
up.
like they're gonna like pave over the fairways for
Yeah.
next like.
but where's obviously everybody cares about Tiger Woods. Is he playing? I think
He was at -1 at one point. I
Yeah.
don't know
I can't see his name.
where Tiger
There's
ended up.
There's old Phil. So now that he's there, I wanted to talk about Phil. So
I'll look up where Tiger
we
is
don't
for
have
you.
a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time to get Phil Mickelson a U.S. Open. I believe he's been 4th place at the U.S. Open 4 times.
Tiger's 3 over, tied for 96, so he's
Okay,
done.
So yeah, Tiger. I mean, unless we get some magic tomorrow, he'll probably miss the cut. But Phil Mickelson, he's at even par. He's only through 4 holes, but I love Phil Mickelson. I don't know if you guys are as big into golf as I am, but I'm a big Phil Mickelson guy. He's like everybody's dad, but then just goes out. He just looks like everybody's dad, but he goes out there and just dominates the short game. He's a lot of fun, and I hope that Phil gets it done. I really want to see Phil Mickelson win a U.S. Open. I think that would be good for the game of golf, and it would be good for 2020. Get a little bit of a positive story going here. So I didn't want to go over golf too much because it's only the first round, and there's not much to talk about other than like who's on the leaderboard and what's going on. But I'm just glad that Phil's getting another chance. I believe he started on the senior tour this year.
Did he really?
And he was just dominating. Like just dominating people on the senior tour. and now I think he's just playing majors.
So did he just turn 55?
Yeah, he like just qualified for it.
Yeah.
So he like went on
That's
and just started
hilarious.
dominating people.
He's like, I'm just going to go in there and just
Yeah.
rip it up.
And then
It's like, you're still in, like, the PGA
yeah,
Tour.
you could you could play
It's
there.
not, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he wins another major.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very unlikely, but it
Didn't
could happen.
Tom Watson had a shot at that, right? Remember his British Open? He was like,
Yeah.
I think
And he was like 60.
he like choked down the stretch or something,
Yeah.
or he missed it on the last.
That's
frame.
like playing, like, basketball at the Y, and then, like
playing in the
like
NBA.
OG Anunoby,
Yeah.
like, shows up. He's like, yo, do you guys want to play for fun?
and he's like going
For
hard
money, actually?
Yeah.
But like 45-year-old OG Anunoby.
No. Well, like, I mean, like, if you're, like, 25 at the Y playing basketball, and,
Yeah.
like, right now OG came.
Yeah.
Like, you're the same age, but it's like you're in
But
the
we're
NBA.
not on a level
Or it's
playing
like-
field
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, or it's like Marc Gasol showing up at the Y or something, or like a guy. Yeah,
So piggybacking off of that, for my hypothetical this week, I thought, obviously I really want to see Phil Mickelson win a U.S. Open. I'd love for that to happen. But my hypothetical this week is, if you could hypothetically see a veteran player in any sport win a title or win a championship, their first championship, who would you like to see and why?
do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
So I'll go with. There's a few guys that come to mind here. I'm gonna go with Joe Thornton just to see him win a cup because that's kind
I
of
thought you were going to go with Pavelski.
my guy Joe Pavelski finally getting his
He
cup.
knows he's going to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
So.
Because Thornton's whole career he's maybe one of the most underrated players of the last 20 years.
One of the best passers
And,
in
like,
the history of the game.
I think unfairly criticized.
Yes, because he couldn't win in the playoffs, I guess, or he just had bad luck in the playoffs, couldn't win this cup. So he didn't have a chance to go anywhere at the deadline this year. I know that they had talked about that a little bit. It doesn't look like he's going to get a chance to do it, but just seeing him raising the cup would have been
I think there's
a really cool moment.
there's a chance that he's on the Toronto Maple Leafs next year.
Yes, you're right.
But we can cross that bridge when we get there.
I'm getting a Joe Thornton Leafs jersey for sure.
But yeah, do you have anything else more to say?
No, that's pretty much it.
That was
a few other guys I thought about.
the
but
first thing that I thought of, but I thought that someone else would probably say it. So I'm going to go with a guy who, before this playoff run, I probably wouldn't have even thought about him in this category, but I'm going to say Chris Paul.
that was that's another guy I was choosing.
I just liked what I saw out of him this year. He was kind of leading that Thunder team. He was a good veteran. I kind of thought at the beginning of the year he would get traded there and, like, be more, like, complain about it. Like,
Yeah.
not
Be
he's
a bit
in
of
the
a
league.
headache.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he was like, he embraced it. He was leading them. He seemed like he loved like, you could tell in the interviews he was, like, so happy about Lou Dort, like, showing up in the playoffs. And he's been, like,
All we need's a chance.
Yeah.
All we want is a chance.
and he's probably, like, in this last generation of players after LeBron Durant, like, you could make a case he's, like, right there as, like, maybe the third best guy. He's almost underrated because he played in the same era as, like, LeBron and KD.
And he's got like a kind of the same kind of things. Those guys have it too, but he's not flashy like those guys, and you get just so used to him doing
Yeah,
things.
he's
and it's
not-
like, well, averaging it like I don't know.
Take him for granted
Yeah.
almost. And I think, I think he would be the guy in the NBA right now if there was one veteran who doesn't have a title where you'd look at it. I would say Chris Paul.
Until last year, Marc Gasol would have been on that list for me too.
Yeah.
He was a guy that I always thought it was like holding down that franchise in Memphis, and he just never really got a true crack. So it was good to see him win. Obviously, with the hometown Toronto Raptors, made it even better.
Of course. So my thoughts, like I actually thought of both of those guys too, but I went football, and when you go football, you go quarterback. And when you go quarterback, you got to think of the guys that kind of like made this last era where you got your Drew Breeses, you got your Tom Brady's, you got your Ben Roethlisberger's, and then there's...
Wow, I can't believe you didn't say Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he's Aaron Rodgers.
He's a bit... I guess he's not that much younger than those guys.
So one guy that he's kind of always been really good, but he's just never really been able to do it is Phil Rivers.
Yeah.
And he let me down in my Survivor pool. So
And
fuck him.
I would love to see Phil Rivers win a title. I'd love to see him like not like just getting really amped up but not swearing. Just, oh, for heaven's sakes, this was the best. You know what I mean? Like he's just like he's a likable guy, and I would have liked to see Phil Rivers win one. That's really that's the only reason, because he was one of those guys that, like, if you're talking about era-defining quarterbacks, he's probably the only one in that era that didn't win one.
Yeah.
And
I'd
that's
say
probably
he's like
why. That's why I
significantly a step down from all those guys you named, though.
But I think it's because he doesn't have a title. If you look at the stats, he's up there, man.
Yeah.
He is. Like, and he makes.
He's probably comparable with Roethlisberger. I think like Rodgers and Breeze are significantly better.
They are.
But
like Breeze owns like 62 NFL records. Like, I'm just talking about like when I grew up watching football.
Well, like Phillip Rivers is significantly better than Eli Manning.
Yes.
And like he has 2 Super Bowls.
So that's what I mean. Like if we're talking football, people that need to win a title, you're always going to go quarterback. And who's that one quarterback in this era that like always was good but was never good enough?
Yeah, he's
that
really
would be
the only guy.
Phil
Everyone else is young, like too young to be considered. Who hasn't won?
And if Cam didn't go to the Patriots, maybe I would have said Cam.
Cam's a guy I'd like to see win, just because he's one of my
not
favorite
anymore.
players.
Not anymore.
Just a few other guys that I thought of.
Pavelski is also another guy I thought of.
In baseball, like he's not that much of a veteran guy. Trout's a guy you got to see him win at some point. Josh Donaldson and Edwin Encarnacion are 2 other guys, just because of their history in Toronto. They're kind of legends in this city, so nice to see them do something. Another legend in this city going to basketball, DeMar DeRozan. It'd be cool to see him win, just because of the way he kind of. Not that he didn't get screwed over or anything by getting traded, but it's just he missed out on all this. He missed out. Like he built.
And then he was the sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just he didn't get a chance. So seeing him get a chance to win somewhere would be cool too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So going into NFL picks week 2, watch the video after this, and fuck, I didn't have a rhyme going on. I'm gonna make one up right here. Ready, guys? This will be on the fly. Okay.
Here we go. Thinking of a rhyme.
This is intense.
Yeah, he's thinking. He's rhyming, juking and jiving.
You know, over these years, the Raptors have given us a lot, and I'm gonna look back on it with a smile. So listen to Name on the Front, and we'll go that extra.